In a world where gods and giants walked the earth, the stars above and the mountains below held ancient tales that still echo today. These were not ordinary beings, they were forces of nature, mighty and relentless, shaping the very fabric of existence. Long ago, before the sun and moon hung in the sky, there was a void, a great emptiness called Jotunheim. To the north lay the land of ice, Niflheim, and to the south, the land of fire, Muspelheim. Where the cold and heat met, something extraordinary happened. From the melting ice, a giant emerged, the first of all beings. His name was Ymir. Ymir was not a creature of kindness or warmth, he was raw power, a force of nature in its most primal form. As Ymir slept, sweat gathered in the crooks of his arms, and from it, new beings were born. These were the giants, strong and fierce, embodying the untamed forces of the world. Among them was Audhumla, a great cow who nourished Ymir with her milk. But Audhumla had a purpose beyond feeding Ymir. She licked the salty ice blocks, revealing Buri, the ancestor of the gods. Buri's descendants would become the Aesir, the gods who would one day rule the cosmos. The gods and giants were bound by fate, their destinies intertwined in ways neither could escape. The gods, led by Odin, were creators and protectors of order. They built the heavens and the earth, giving life to all that breathed. Yet, despite their power, they could not exist without the giants. The giants were not mere monsters, they were the embodiment of chaos and nature itself. The gods drew their strength from the very elements the giants controlled. Ymir's body became the foundation of the world. His flesh turned to earth, his bones to mountains, and his blood to the seas. The sky was fashioned from his skull, held up by 4 dwarfs, and the clouds were made from his brain. Ymir's eyebrows became the barrier that separated the land of men from the giants. Yet, the giants were not banished entirely. They dwelled in Jotunheim, a land of harsh wilderness, where they continued to grow in number and strength. The giants were ever present, looming on the edge of the world, a reminder of the forces that could never be tamed. They were not merely adversaries, they were the balance to the gods' order. Without the giants, there would be no struggle, no stories of heroism and sacrifice. The giants' power was vast, and their wisdom, though often dark and foreboding, was deep. They knew secrets the gods did not, for they were as ancient as the world itself. Among the giants, there were those who bore no ill will towards the gods. Some even formed bonds with them. The giantess Skadi, for example, became the wife of the sea god Njord, choosing the life of the gods over her kin. Yet, these unions were rare, and more often than not, the giants and gods clashed in battles that shook the heavens. The gods' might was tested time and again by the giants' strength. Thor, the thunder god, was the most feared among them, known for his endless battles with the giants. He wielded Mjolnir, a hammer that could crush mountains, and his fury was unmatched. But even Thor, in all his strength, was not invincible. The giants had their victories, and their cunning often matched the gods' might. The giants were not all alike. Some, like the fire giant Surtur, were destined to bring about the end of the world. Surtur, with his flaming sword, stood at the edge of the world, waiting for the day when he would march on Asgard and set the heavens ablaze. Others, like Thrym, were more playful, though no less dangerous. Thrym once stole Thor's hammer and demanded the goddess Freya as his bride in exchange. Such was the nature of the giants, devious, powerful, and always a step away from unleashing chaos upon the world. The gods, despite their power, could not escape their fate. The giants, too, were bound by the threads of destiny. The day would come when the giants would rise against the gods in a battle that would end the world as they knew it. This day was called Ragnarok, the twilight of the gods. It was a day foretold in the prophecies, where the giants and gods would meet in a final, cataclysmic battle. The earth would tremble, the seas would rise, and the sky would burn as the giants stormed the heavens. In this world of gods and giants, nothing was certain except the inevitability of change. The giants, though often cast as villains, were more than mere enemies of the gods. They were essential to the balance of the cosmos, forces of nature that could neither be ignored nor fully controlled. The gods knew this, and though they fought the giants, they also respected their power. In the end, it was the giants who would have the final say in the fate of the world. But even in their victory, there was no true winner. The world would be reborn from the ashes, and the cycle would begin anew. The giants' role in this cycle was as vital as the gods', for without destruction, there could be no creation. The stories of the giants are tales of power, loss, and the eternal struggle between order and chaos. They remind us that even the gods, in all their glory, are not immune to the forces of nature. The giants are a symbol of the untamable, the wildness that lies within us all, waiting to be awakened. And in their stories, we find the echoes of our own struggles, our own battles with the forces that shape our lives. As we listen to these ancient tales, we feel the power of the giants, the awe they inspired, and the fears they instilled. They were not just characters in a story, they were the embodiment of the world's raw, untamed power. And though the gods may have ruled the heavens, it was the giants who held the world in their hands, shaping it with every step they took. Before anything existed, before the stars twinkled, before the earth was formed, there was only a vast, empty void. In this dark nothingness, life began in the most unexpected way. From the clash of fire and ice, something powerful and ancient stirred. Ymir, the first of all beings, came into existence. He was a giant, not like any creature we know, but a being of immense size and unimaginable power. His very presence was a force of nature, raw and untamed. Ymir was more than just a living being, he was a part of the cosmos itself. His body was a living testament to the chaotic forces that shaped the world. As Ymir grew, so did the cosmos around him. From his sweat, other giants were born, and from his body, life began to take shape. But Ymir's existence was not one of peace or harmony. He was the embodiment of chaos, a living reminder of the primal forces that existed before order. Ymir's presence was overwhelming, but his existence would not last forever. The gods, born from another line of giants, looked upon Ymir and saw in him the potential for creation. They knew that to bring order to the chaos, they would have to destroy Ymir, the very source of that chaos. And so, with heavy hearts, the gods decided that Ymir must die for the world to be born. The gods gathered their strength and set upon Ymir with all their might. The battle was fierce and filled with sorrow, for they knew that this act of destruction was necessary, yet heartbreaking. Ymir's blood flowed like rivers, filling the empty void with life-giving waters. His bones cracked and splintered, and from them, mountains rose. His flesh, once a living testament to chaos, became the earth itself, fertile and full of promise. From Ymir's skull, the gods crafted the sky, vast and endless. They placed his brain in the heavens, where it became the clouds that drift across the blue expanse. His hair, once wild and untamed, became the trees and forests that covered the earth. Ymir's eyebrows formed the barrier between the world of men and the land of giants, a reminder that even in death, Ymir's influence remained. But Ymir's heart was the most powerful of all. Even as his body was used to create the world, his heart continued to beat, echoing the pulse of the cosmos. This heart, filled with the essence of life and death, became the center of all creation. It was from Ymir's heart that the gods drew their strength, and it was this same heart that ensured the world would continue to thrive. As the world took shape from Ymir's body, the gods looked upon their creation with both awe and sorrow. They had destroyed a powerful being, but in doing so, they had given birth to a world full of life and beauty. The mountains, seas, and forests were all born from Ymir's sacrifice, and the gods knew that his spirit lived on in every part of the world. Ymir's role in shaping the cosmos was not just about the physical world. He was the very essence of creation and destruction, a reminder that life and death are two sides of the same coin. The gods understood that without Ymir, there could be no world, no life, no future. His body was the foundation upon which everything was built, and his spirit continued to guide the cosmos, even after his death. Ymir's story is one of sacrifice, of giving up oneself for the greater good. It is a story that resonates with us because it speaks to the very core of existence. Ymir's sacrifice was not in vain, for from his death came life, from his chaos came order, and from his destruction came creation. The world we live in is a testament to Ymir's power, a world shaped by his body and soul. In every mountain, in every tree, and every breath of wind, Ymir's presence can still be felt. The gods may have shaped the world, but it was Ymir who gave it life. His blood flows through the rivers, his bones form the mountains, and his heart continues to beat within the earth. Ymir's legacy is eternal, a reminder that even in the face of destruction, there is always the potential for new life. The world is both beautiful and terrifying, full of life and death, joy and sorrow. And in the center of it all is Ymir, the primordial giant whose body became the world we know. His story is one of the oldest, yet it remains as powerful and poignant as ever. Ymir's sacrifice reminds us that even in the darkest of times, there is always the promise of a new beginning, a new world waiting to be born. There is a place where the winds howl like wolves, and the mountains stretch so high that their peaks disappear into the clouds. This is Jotunheim, the land of giants, a place both feared and revered by gods and men alike. Jotunheim is not a land of gentle hills and lush valleys, it is a land of rugged terrain, wild and untamed, where the earth itself seems alive with a primal force. In Jotunheim, the very air feels thick with power, a reminder that this land belongs to beings older and stronger than any who walk the earth. The sky over Jotunheim is often dark, filled with swirling storms that rage without end. The land is vast, stretching out in every direction, with forests so dense that sunlight barely penetrates the canopy. The trees are ancient, their roots twisted and gnarled, clutching the earth as if holding it together. The rivers in Jotunheim run cold and swift, their waters as clear as glass, but as unforgiving as the giants themselves. These rivers carve deep gorges into the earth, their currents fierce enough to sweep away anything in their path. In some places, the ground shakes with the force of the water crashing against the rocks, as if the land itself is alive with anger. The mountains of Jotunheim are the most fearsome of all. They rise from the ground like the teeth of some great beast, jagged and sharp, cutting into the sky. These mountains are home to the giants, who have carved their homes into the stone, living within the very bones of the earth. The giants are as much a part of this land as the mountains themselves, their strength and power drawn from the wild, untamed nature of Jotunheim. But Jotunheim is more than just a place, it is the heart of the giants' power, a place where their strength is unmatched. The giants of Jotunheim are not like the gods who dwell in Asgard. They are creatures of the earth, their power rooted in the land itself. Jotunheim is a place where the laws of men and gods do not apply, where the giants reign supreme. To the gods, Jotunheim is a land of danger, a place where their power is not absolute. The gods may be strong, but in Jotunheim, they are vulnerable. The giants know every inch of their land, every hidden path, every cave and crevice. They are one with the land, and the land itself seems to rise up to protect them. In Jotunheim, the gods are intruders, and the giants are the masters of all they survey. The significance of Jotunheim in Norse mythology goes beyond its physical presence. It is a symbol of the wild, untamed forces that exist outside the order of the gods. Jotunheim is a reminder that the world is not a place of peace and tranquility, but a place of struggle and conflict, where the strong survive and the weak perish. The giants of Jotunheim are a constant threat to the gods, a reminder that their power is not absolute, and that there are forces in the world that even they cannot control. Jotunheim is also a place of great beauty, though it is a harsh and unforgiving beauty. The land is raw and untouched, unspoiled by the hands of men or gods. It is a place where the natural world reigns supreme, where the mountains, rivers, and forests exist in their purest form. In Jotunheim, the world is as it was meant to be, wild and free, unbound by the rules and laws of civilization. But this beauty is not gentle or kind. It is a beauty that inspires awe and fear in equal measure, a reminder of the power of nature and the forces that shape the world. The giants of Jotunheim are a reflection of this beauty, beings of immense strength and power, born from the very heart of the earth. They are not evil, but they are not good either. They are forces of nature, as unpredictable and unstoppable as the storms that rage over Jotunheim. In Jotunheim, the line between life and death is thin, and the giants walk that line every day. They are creatures of the earth, their lives intertwined with the land in ways that the gods can never understand. The giants draw their strength from Jotunheim, and in return, they protect it with all the power they possess. To the giants, Jotunheim is more than just a home, it is a part of them, and they are a part of it. The gods may rule in Asgard, but in Jotunheim, it is the giants who hold sway. The land itself seems to respond to their presence, bending to their will, shaping itself to suit their needs. The mountains rise higher, the rivers run faster, and the storms grow fiercer in their presence. Jotunheim is a land of extremes, a place where the giants' power is at its peak, where they are at their most dangerous. Yet, despite the danger, Jotunheim is also a place of refuge for the giants, a sanctuary from the world of men and gods. It is a place where they can be themselves, free from the judgment of others, free to live as they have always lived, in harmony with the land. Jotunheim is the giants' last stronghold, a place where their power remains undiminished, where they are still the rulers of their own fate. In the end, Jotunheim is more than just a land, it is a testament to the giants' strength and resilience, a place where their power is absolute, where they are free to live as they please. It is a land of wild beauty and untamed power, a place where the giants of Norse mythology will always reign supreme. In the beginning, when the world was young and the boundaries between life and death were still being drawn, there were the giants. Born from the very essence of the cosmos, their origins were as mysterious as they were powerful. The giants were not crafted by any hand, they were born from the raw elements of existence itself. They were the children of chaos and creation, their lineage stretching back to the first moments when fire met ice in the great void of Jotunheim. The first of their kind was Ymir, a being of immense size and power. From Ymir's body came the first giants, a race as ancient as the world itself. These giants were not mere creatures of flesh and bone, they were forces of nature, each one embodying the untamed and primal energy that flowed through the universe. They were born from the sweat of Ymir's body, from the very blood that coursed through his veins, and from the essence of the earth itself. As time passed, the giants multiplied, their lineage spreading across the world. They became as numerous as the stars, each one unique, yet all bound by the same ancient power that had given them life. The giants were not all alike, some were as vast as mountains, while others were as swift as the wind. Some were wise and cunning, while others were fierce and unyielding. Yet, all of them carried within them the strength of the earth and the fury of the storms. Among the giants, there were those whose power was so great that it shook the heavens. One such giant was Bestla, a giantess of immense wisdom and strength. Bestla was not like the others, she was destined for something greater, something that would change the course of the cosmos. She was born from the ancient line of giants, her bloodline stretching back to Ymir himself. But it was not her lineage that set her apart, it was the fire that burned within her, a fire that would one day ignite the flames of destiny. Bestla's heart was as strong as the mountains, and her spirit as wild as the storm. She was a giantess who carried the weight of the world within her, yet she bore it with grace and strength. She knew that her destiny was not to remain in the shadows of Jotunheim, but to give birth to a new era, one that would be shaped by her children. It was said that when Bestla looked into the sky, she could see the threads of fate weaving together, the future unfolding before her eyes. She knew that her children would not be ordinary giants, but beings of immense power, destined to shape the world in ways that no one could yet understand. Bestla's heart swelled with pride, for she knew that her lineage would live on through her sons, and that they would be remembered for all time. Bestla became the mother of 3 sons, each one destined for greatness. The first was Vili, the second was Ve, and the third was Odin. These were not just giants, they were the sons of a giantess whose power and wisdom surpassed all others. Bestla's blood flowed through their veins, and with it, the strength of the ancient giants. But it was Odin who would carry forth the legacy of the giants in a way that would forever change the world. Odin was not like his brothers. From the moment he was born, it was clear that he was different. There was a light in his eyes, a spark of something more, something that went beyond the raw power of the giants. Odin was destined to become the All-Father, the ruler of the gods, the one who would bring order to the chaos of the cosmos. But even as he rose to power, he never forgot his lineage, the blood of the giants that ran through his veins. Bestla watched as her sons grew into their destiny, knowing that they would carry with them the legacy of the giants. She knew that the world would be forever changed by their actions, and that her role as the mother of Odin would be remembered for all time. Bestla's heart was filled with pride and sorrow, for she knew that her sons would face great challenges, but she also knew that they would rise to meet them, as giants always had. Bestla's story is not just the story of a giantess, it is the story of the creation of a new era, one that would be shaped by her sons. Her role in shaping the cosmos cannot be overstated, for without Bestla, there would be no Odin, no Vili, no Ve. The world as we know it would not exist without the strength and wisdom of this giantess, whose lineage stretched back to the very beginning of time. The giants may have been born from chaos, but they were also the creators of order. Through Bestla, the line of giants gave birth to the gods, and with them, the world as we know it. Bestla's legacy lives on in every breath of wind, and every mountain and river, and the very fabric of the cosmos itself. The creation of giants was not just the beginning of a race, it was the beginning of everything. In every corner of the world, the blood of the giants flows, a reminder of the ancient power that gave birth to the cosmos. And in every story told, and every myth passed down through the ages, the name of Bestla is whispered, a testament to the strength and wisdom of the giantess who gave birth to the gods. The giants may be gone, but their legacy lives on, in the earth, in the sky, and in the hearts of all who remember their story. In the shadows of ancient mountains and in the heart of raging storms, there lived beings of unimaginable power. Giants, creatures of the earth and sky, were not bound by the limits that defined gods or men. They took on many forms, each one as varied as the forces of nature itself. Some giants towered above the world, their heads brushing the clouds, while others moved with the speed of lightning, their steps shaking the ground. They were as vast as the ocean and as unyielding as the rock, yet they were also as unpredictable as the wind. Giants were not just beings of immense size, they were embodiments of the raw, untamed forces that shaped the world. Each giant was unique, a living manifestation of the elements that gave them life. Some were made of stone, their skin as hard as the mountains, their strength unmatched. They could crush boulders with their hands and shape the earth with a single touch. Others were creatures of fire, their bodies burning with an inner heat that could melt iron and turn forests to ash. These fire giants were forces of destruction, but also of creation, for from the ashes, new life would always rise. There were giants who commanded the winds, their voices echoing in the thunder, their breath stirring the storms. They could summon hurricanes with a whisper, their power felt in every gust of wind that swept across the land. These giants were the breath of the earth, the force that moved the air and shaped the weather. With a wave of their hand, they could calm the fiercest storm or unleash a tempest that would tear the world apart. Water giants were as ancient as the seas, their bodies flowing like the rivers and oceans they inhabited. They could control the tides, calling forth waves that could swallow ships and flood entire lands. These giants were the pulse of the world's waters, their power as endless as the sea itself. In their presence, the waters were alive, their depths filled with the memories of all that had ever been. The giants were also creatures of the earth, their bodies made from the very soil they walked upon. They could move mountains and carve valleys, their strength drawn from the heart of the earth itself. These earth giants were the bones of the world, their presence felt in every hill and plain. They could make the ground tremble with a thought, their power shaping the landscape as they saw fit. But the giants were not only beings of destruction and might. They were also embodiments of the more subtle forces of nature. Some giants could change their shape, becoming one with the trees and animals, blending into the world around them. They were the guardians of the forests, the spirits of the wild places where no man dared to tread. These giants were the protectors of the natural world, their presence ensuring that the balance of life was maintained. The giants' power was not just physical, it was also magical, tied to the ancient forces that governed the universe. Some giants could see the future, their eyes filled with the knowledge of all that was to come. They could weave spells that could alter the very fabric of reality, bending time and space to their will. Others had the power to heal or to curse, their touch bringing life or death as they chose. These giants were the keepers of the old magic, their knowledge passed down through the ages, a gift from the earth itself. To encounter a giant was to encounter the very essence of nature, raw and untamed. They were not bound by the rules of men or gods, their power as wild and unpredictable as the elements they embodied. Giants were beings of both great beauty and great terror, their presence a reminder of the forces that shaped the world, forces that were beyond the control of any living being. Yet, despite their power, the giants were not invincible. They were as much a part of the world as the mountains and rivers, and like all things in nature, they could be wounded, they could die. But even in death, their essence would return to the earth, becoming one with the forces that had given them life. A giant's death was not an end, but a return to the source, a rejoining of the cycle of life and death that governed all things. The giants were not just creatures of legend, they were the living embodiment of the world's most powerful forces. They were the strength of the earth, the fire of creation, the breath of the winds, and the pulse of the waters. In every storm, in every mountain, in every breath of wind, the presence of the giants could be felt, a reminder of the power that still exists in the world, a power that is as ancient as time itself. To understand the giants is to understand the very essence of nature, to feel the earth beneath your feet, the wind in your hair, the fire in your heart, and the water in your veins. The giants were not just beings of great power, they were a part of everything that exists, a part of the world that lives and breathes, a part of us all. They are the echoes of the past, the guardians of the present, and the harbingers of the future, their presence felt in every corner of the world, and every moment of life. In the heart of Muspelheim, where the flames burn brighter than the sun and the air is thick with the scent of smoke, there stands a figure of unimaginable power. His name is Surtur, the fire giant, a being whose very essence is forged from the flames of destruction. Surtur is not just a giant, he is the embodiment of fire itself, a force that consumes everything in its path, leaving nothing but ashes in its wake. Surtur's presence is felt in every flicker of flame, in every spark that leaps from the fire. He is the fire that warms on a cold night, but also the blaze that devours forests and homes. His power is both life-giving and life-taking, a reminder that fire, though essential, is also dangerous. Surtur is the keeper of this power, and he holds it with a steady hand, knowing that his role is one of immense responsibility. But Surtur's true destiny lies in the events of Ragnarok, the end of all things. When the time comes for the final battle, Surtur will rise from Muspelheim, his sword alight with a flame that nothing can extinguish. This sword, forged in the fires of his homeland, is no ordinary weapon. It is a blade of pure destruction, capable of cutting through anything in its path. With this sword, Surtur will lead the forces of fire against the gods, bringing with him the fury of the flames that have burned within him since the beginning of time. As Surtur marches towards Asgard, the sky will darken, and the earth will tremble under his feet. His very presence will ignite the world, setting the sky ablaze with flames that will consume everything. The seas will boil, and the mountains will crumble to dust as the fire spreads, unstoppable and unyielding. Surtur's fire is not just a physical force, it is a symbol of the end, the final act of destruction that will make way for a new beginning. In the chaos of Ragnarok, Surtur's fire will be the ultimate force of destruction. It will be the fire that cleanses the world, burning away the old to make way for the new. This fire is not born of hatred or malice, it is the fire of necessity, a force that exists because it must, because the world cannot continue as it is. Surtur knows this, and though his role is a tragic one, he accepts it with the solemnity of one who understands the weight of his destiny. Surtur's fire is also a symbol of transformation. Just as fire consumes and destroys, it also purifies and renews. From the ashes of what was, new life will emerge, stronger and more resilient. Surtur's flames are the catalyst for this change, the force that brings about the end so that something new can rise in its place. In this way, Surtur is not just a destroyer, he is a creator, a being whose power brings about the rebirth of the world. As Surtur raises his sword and brings it down upon the world, the flames will engulf everything, leaving nothing untouched. The gods, the giants, the world itself, all will be consumed by the fire. But in this destruction, there is also hope, for from the ashes, a new world will be born. A world free from the old conflicts, where life can begin anew. Surtur's role in Ragnarok is not just to end the world, but to pave the way for its rebirth. The fire that Surtur wields is a reminder of the cycle of life and death, of creation and destruction. It is a force that cannot be controlled or tamed, a force that exists beyond the understanding of gods and men. Surtur is the keeper of this fire, the one who holds the power to end the world, and with it, to begin it anew. In the final moments of Ragnarok, as the world burns around him, Surtur will stand tall, his eyes reflecting the flames that consume everything. He knows that his role is complete, that the fire has done its work. And as the last embers die out, a new dawn will rise, bringing with it the promise of a new beginning. Surtur's flames, though feared and dreaded, are also the flames of hope, the fire that ensures that life will continue, even after the end. In the coldest reaches of the world, where the air is sharp and the ground is frozen, there lives a giant whose heart is as cold as the ice that surrounds him. His name is Thrym, the Frost Giant, a being of immense strength and cunning. Thrym is not just a giant, he is the very embodiment of winter, a force that blankets the world in snow and freezes rivers in their tracks. His breath is the wind that howls through the mountains, his touch the frost that bites at your skin. Thrym's power is the power of the cold, a force that cannot be tamed or reasoned with. Thrym's story is one of desire and deception, a tale that begins on a dark, frigid night when the frost giant decided to take what did not belong to him. Thrym, with all his might and guile, coveted the one thing that symbolized power above all else, the hammer of Thor, Mjolnir. This hammer was not just a weapon, it was the very heart of Thor's strength, the instrument that kept the giants at bay and protected the gods. But Thrym, driven by his desire to see the gods brought low, dared to steal it. In the dead of night, when the world was silent and still, Thrym crept into Asgard, his icy breath turning the air to mist. With a stealth that belied his massive size, he reached out and took Mjolnir, his hands trembling with excitement as he wrapped them around the handle of the mighty hammer. The moment he touched it, the power of the gods seemed to hum through his veins, but he knew he could not wield it. Thrym did not care, he had what he wanted, and with a heart as cold as the ice he commanded, he fled back to his frozen fortress in Jotunheim, where no god could follow. When Thor awoke and found his hammer gone, it was as if a part of his soul had been torn away. Mjolnir was more than just a weapon, it was a piece of him, a symbol of his power and his duty. Without it, he felt a deep emptiness, a vulnerability that gnawed at him like the winter wind. The gods trembled, for they knew that without Thor's hammer, they were vulnerable to the giant's wrath. The cold of Thrym's actions spread across Asgard, a chill that even the warmth of the sun could not dispel. Thrym, in his icy hall, reveled in his triumph. He sat on his throne of ice, the hammer of Thor beside him, a wicked grin on his face. But he knew the hammer alone was not enough, he needed something more to solidify his power, to ensure that the gods would never again rise against him. And so, Thrym sent word to Asgard, demanding the hand of the goddess Freya in marriage in exchange for the return of Mjolnir. It was a cruel demand, one that struck at the heart of the gods' pride and honor. Thor, filled with a fury as cold as Thrym's heart, knew that he could not let this stand. But without his hammer, he was powerless to challenge the frost giant directly. Loki, ever the trickster, came up with a plan. He suggested that Thor disguise himself as Freya and go to Thrym's hall, where they could retrieve the hammer before the wedding took place. Thor, though reluctant, agreed, for he would do whatever it took to reclaim what was his. The sight of Thor, the mighty god of thunder, dressed as a bride, was a spectacle that none who saw it would ever forget. But beneath the veil and the heavy robes, Thor's heart burned with rage, a fire that could melt even the deepest ice. When Thrym saw his bride approaching, he was overjoyed. The cold hall echoed with laughter as the frost giant welcomed his guests, unaware of the storm that brewed beneath the surface. The feast was lavish, filled with all the delicacies of Jotunheim, but Thor ate with the ferocity of a storm. Thrym, puzzled by his bride's voracious appetite, was reassured by Loki's quick words. The frost giant's suspicions were momentarily quelled, and he ordered the hammer to be brought out and placed in his bride's lap, as was the custom before the marriage could be sealed. The moment Mjolnir was placed in Thor's hands, the disguise fell away, revealing the god in all his glory. Thor's eyes blazed with the fury of 1,000 storms, and with a roar that shook the very foundations of Jotunheim, he swung the hammer. The air crackled with energy as Mjolnir struck, the force of the blow so great that it shattered the ice around them. Thrym, caught off guard, could do nothing as the hammer came down upon him, crushing him beneath its weight. The frost giant, once so powerful and cunning, was no more, his cold heart finally stilled by the force of Thor's wrath. The death of Thrym did not just end the threat to Asgard, it also brought an end to the bitter winter that had gripped the world. The frost giants, who had looked to Thrym as their leader, scattered like snowflakes in the wind, their power broken. The icy grip of winter loosened, and warmth began to return to the land. But the memory of Thrym and his audacious theft lingered, a reminder of the cold and treacherous nature of the frost giants. Thrym's story is not just a tale of greed and deception, it is a reflection of the power of winter itself. The frost giants, with their icy breath and cold hearts, are the embodiment of the winter that grips the world in its icy hands. They are the chill that seeps into your bones, the frost that withers the crops, the snow that buries the world in silence. But like winter, the frost giants are also a part of the natural order, a force that must be respected but not feared. In the end, Thrym's defeat was not just a victory for Thor and the gods, it was a victory for life itself. The warmth of spring returned, the ice melted, and the world was reborn. But the memory of Thrym and his cold heart remained, a reminder that winter always returns, and with it, the frost giants who dwell in the shadows, waiting for their moment to strike. There was a time when the ground itself seemed to shudder under the weight of a giant whose very presence was as immovable as the mountains. Hrungnir, the stone giant, was a being born from the earth, his body as hard as the rock he commanded. He was the embodiment of stone and earth, a force of nature that stood firm against the passage of time, unyielding and steadfast. Hrungnir was not just a giant, he was a living monument to the power of the earth, a creature who held within him the strength of the mountains and the endurance of the stone beneath our feet. Hrungnir's story is one of pride and challenge, a tale that begins with a boast that would set the stage for a confrontation that would shake the very foundations of the world. One day, in a moment of arrogance, Hrungnir rode his powerful steed Gulfaxi into Asgard, the realm of the gods, boasting of his strength and daring anyone to challenge him. The gods, though wary of the giant's power, were not ones to shy away from a challenge, especially Thor, the god of thunder, who was known for his fierce protection of Asgard. Thor, with Mjolnir in hand, accepted Hrungnir's challenge, and the two agreed to meet in battle. This was no ordinary duel, it was a clash of titans, a battle between the raw power of the earth and the unstoppable force of the storm. Hrungnir, confident in his stone-hard body and his mighty weapon, a whetstone sharp and deadly, prepared for the fight with the assurance of one who had never known defeat. But Thor, with the fury of the storm coursing through his veins, was not one to be easily bested. The day of the duel dawned with the sky heavy and dark, as if the heavens themselves knew what was about to unfold. The earth trembled as Hrungnir took his place on the battlefield, his massive form looming like a mountain against the horizon. Thor arrived, his presence electric, the air crackling with the energy of the storm that followed him wherever he went. The two warriors faced each other, and in that moment, the world seemed to hold its breath, waiting for the clash that was to come. Hrungnir, with a roar that echoed like an avalanche, hurled his whetstone at Thor, the force of the throw enough to shatter mountains. But Thor, with the speed of lightning, raised Mjolnir and threw it with all his might. The hammer and the whetstone collided in midair with a sound that shook the heavens, a sound like the breaking of the world itself. Sparks flew as the whetstone shattered into pieces, the fragments scattering across the earth, burying themselves deep into the ground. But Mjolnir did not stop. With the force of 1,000 storms, it struck Hrungnir in the head, crushing the stone giant beneath its weight. Hrungnir, who had never known defeat, fell to the ground like a collapsing mountain, his body turning to stone as he died, his massive form lying lifeless on the battlefield. The earth, which had once trembled under his steps, was now still, the giant's strength returning to the earth from which it had come. Hrungnir's defeat was not just a victory for Thor, it was a testament to the power of the storm over the earth, the reminder that even the mightiest stone can be shattered by the force of thunder and lightning. But Hrungnir's story does not end with his death, for the stone that was his body remained, a monument to the power and the enduring strength of the earth. Stone, like Hrungnir, is a symbol of permanence and stability, a reminder that the earth beneath us is the foundation upon which all life stands. But just as stone can be unyielding, it can also be broken, shaped, and changed. Hrungnir's body, now turned to stone, became a part of the earth, his strength returning to the mountains and the rocks, his essence becoming one with the world he once sought to conquer. The symbolism of Hrungnir and the stone he embodied is a powerful reminder of the dual nature of the earth. Stone is both a protector and a barrier, a force that can both shelter and imprison. It is the earth that gives life, but it is also the earth that holds us in death. Hrungnir, in his pride and his strength, was a reflection of this duality, a being who sought to challenge the gods and in doing so, became a part of the earth he once commanded. Hrungnir's legacy lives on in the stones and the mountains, and the earth beneath our feet. His story is a reminder of the power of the earth, a force that is both unyielding and fragile, a force that can be both protector and destroyer. The stone giant's duel with Thor is not just a tale of battle, it is a reflection of the eternal struggle between the forces of nature, the clash of elements that shape the world around us. In the end, Hrungnir's strength was not enough to overcome the power of the storm, but his defeat was not the end of his story. The stone that was his body remains, a symbol of the enduring power of the earth, a reminder that even in defeat, there is strength. Hrungnir, the stone giant, may have fallen, but the earth that gave him life continues to stand, as unyielding and steadfast as the mountains themselves. Amid the cold winds that sweep across the frozen peaks of the mountains, there walks a figure as fierce and untamed as the winter itself. Her name is Skadi, the giantess of winter, a woman whose spirit is as wild as the snowstorms that howl through the valleys. Skadi is no ordinary giantess, she is a huntress, a force of nature who commands the respect of both the gods and the giants. With her bow in hand and her heart filled with the icy resolve of her homeland, she stands tall, a symbol of the harsh, unforgiving beauty of winter. Skadi's story is one of both sorrow and strength. It begins with a loss so profound that it shakes the very core of her being. Her father, Jotsi, a mighty giant in his own right, was slain by the gods in a cruel twist of fate. Grief-stricken and burning with the need for justice, Skadi donned her armor, strapped on her skis, and set out for Asgard, the realm of the gods. She was not driven by vengeance alone, but by a deep sense of honor and duty to her father. Skadi, with her icy determination, demanded retribution from the gods who had wronged her. The gods, seeing the fire in her eyes and the strength in her stance, knew they could not simply dismiss her demands. They offered her a choice, a husband from among the gods and a place in Asgard, or war. Skadi, though grieving, was also wise. She knew that accepting their offer would not only honor her father's memory, but also secure her a position of power among those who had wronged her. But the gods, always tricky, had a condition: Skadi would have to choose her husband based only on the sight of his feet. Skadi, determined to make the best of this strange situation, carefully examined the line of gods presented to her. She chose the pair of feet she believed belonged to Balder, the most handsome of the gods, hoping to find some solace in beauty. But when the veil was lifted, she found herself married to Njord, the god of the sea, a deity far different from what she had imagined. Njord was a god of warmth and the ocean, his realm far removed from the cold mountain Skadi called home. Their union was a difficult one, born of necessity rather than love. Skadi, used to the solitude and silence of the snow-covered peaks, struggled with the sounds of the sea, the endless waves crashing against the shore. Njord, in turn, found the biting cold of Skadi's mountain home unbearable. They tried to make it work, living alternately in each other's worlds, but the tension between the warmth of the sea and the cold of the mountains proved too great. Skadi, though disappointed, did not let this setback define her. She remained a powerful figure, respected both in Jotunheim, the land of the giants, and in Asgard, the home of the gods. In Jotunheim, she was a symbol of strength and independence, a giantess who had stood toe-to-toe with the gods and claimed her place among them. In Asgard, she was a reminder of the raw power of nature, a force that could not be tamed or controlled. Skadi's heart never fully left the mountains of Jotunheim. She continued to visit her homeland, her skis gliding over the snow-covered landscape, her bow ever ready to strike. The mountains called to her in a way that Asgard never could, the cold wind whispering secrets only she could hear. Skadi found solace in the solitude of the peaks, her spirit at peace among the ice and snow. But Skadi's story is not just one of loss and struggle. It is also a story of resilience and strength. Despite the challenges she faced, Skadi never lost her sense of self. She was a giantess of winter, a huntress who commanded respect through her actions and her unwavering resolve. Her marriage to Njord, though difficult, did not break her spirit. Instead, it forged her into a figure of even greater strength, a woman who stood firm in her identity, regardless of the trials she faced. Skadi's presence in Asgard was a constant reminder to the gods of the power of the giants and the wildness of nature. She was not a goddess born of the warm light of Asgard, but a force from the cold, untamed lands of Jotunheim. Her eyes, sharp as the coldest ice, saw through the deceptions of the gods, and her heart, though filled with the chill of winter, beat with a fierce loyalty to her people and her land. Skadi's legacy is one of both pain and power. Her marriage may not have brought her the love she sought, but it brought her the respect and position she needed to honor her father's memory. And while she may have struggled to find her place between two worlds, she never wavered in her strength or her resolve. Skadi, the giantess of winter, remains a figure of awe and admiration, a woman who embraced the coldness of her nature and used it to carve out a place for herself in both Jotunheim and Asgard. Through her, we see the beauty and the danger of winter, the way it can both nurture and destroy. Skadi embodies the duality of the season, cold and unforgiving, yet also strong and enduring. She is a reminder that even in the depths of winter, there is a fierce beauty, a strength that can withstand even the harshest of conditions. Skadi, the huntress of the mountains, the giantess of winter, will forever be remembered as a force of nature, as unyielding and majestic as the snow-covered peaks she calls home. In the cold, remote reaches of the world, where the mountains stretch high and the winds bite with the sharpness of ice, there lived a giant named Thjatsi. His heart was as fierce as the winter storms that raged around his homeland, and his mind as cunning as the wolves that prowled the forests. Thjatsi was no ordinary giant. His power lay in his ability to transform into an eagle, soaring above the frozen peaks, his keen eyes ever watchful for opportunities to tip the balance of power in his favor. One day, Thjatsi's gaze fell upon Idun, the goddess of youth, who held within her hands the golden apples that granted the gods their immortality. These apples were more than just fruit, they were the source of the gods' eternal life, their golden glow a symbol of the everlasting vitality that kept the deities of Asgard ageless and powerful. To possess these apples would mean holding the very essence of the gods' immortality in his grasp, a prize that could shift the balance of power in ways unimaginable. Thjatsi's plan was as bold as it was dangerous. Disguising himself in his eagle form, he waited for the right moment, biding his time with the patience of a predator stalking its prey. The opportunity came when Loki, the trickster god, found himself in a predicament of his own making. Loki, ever the schemer, had angered Thjatsi, and the giant seized this chance to force Loki into a pact that would change the fate of the gods. Loki, caught between his own mischief and the threat of Thjatsi's wrath, had no choice but to agree to Thjatsi's demands. Under duress, Loki lured Idun out of Asgard, promising her that he had found even more beautiful apples beyond the walls of their celestial home. Trusting Loki, Idun followed him, carrying her precious apples with her. But as soon as they were outside the safety of Asgard, Thjatsi, in his eagle form, swooped down with the speed of a winter gale, snatching Idun and her golden apples from the earth and carrying them off to his stronghold in the mountains. With Idun's abduction, a shadow fell over Asgard. The gods, deprived of their golden apples, began to feel the weight of time pressing down upon them. Their youth, once eternal, began to fade. Lines of age appeared where none had been before, and the strength that had once coursed through their veins like an unending river began to wane. Fear gripped Asgard as the gods realized that their immortality, the very foundation of their power, was slipping away, stolen by the hands of a giant. Thjazi, in his icy fortress, watched with satisfaction as the gods grew weaker by the day. He had in his possession not only the goddess of youth, but also the means to bring the gods to their knees. The balance of power had shifted, and for the first time, the gods knew what it was to be mortal, to feel the cold touch of time. But the gods were not without their own cunning. Odin, the All-Father, and his kin knew that to reclaim their immortality, they needed to outwit Thjazi. Loki, now desperate to redeem himself and restore his standing among the gods, devised a plan. With the help of Freya, the goddess of love and beauty, Loki transformed himself into a falcon and flew to Thjazi's mountain stronghold. Loki, swift and silent, found Idun imprisoned within the cold walls of Thjazi's lair, her golden apples still glowing faintly beside her. Without a moment's hesitation, Loki used his magic to turn Idun into a nut and clasped her tightly in his talons. He fled the fortress, the cold winds tearing at his feathers as he raced back to Asgard with the speed of a storm. Thjazi, realizing too late what had happened, gave chase. The skies thundered with the sound of his wings as he pursued Loki across the heavens, his rage burning as hot as the fires of Muspelheim. But Loki, with the gods watching over him, flew faster than ever before. As he neared Asgard, the gods prepared a trap, lighting a great fire around the walls of their city. Loki, with Idun in his talons, flew over the flames and into the safety of Asgard. But Thjazi, consumed by his fury, flew straight into the trap. The fire caught his wings, and with a great cry that echoed through the mountains, Thjazi fell from the sky, crashing to the ground below. The giant who had once threatened the immortality of the gods lay defeated, his power extinguished like a flame in the wind. With Thjazi's fall, the gods rejoiced, for Idun was returned to them, and with her, the golden apples that restored their youth and vitality. The shadows that had loomed over Asgard were lifted, and the gods once again stood tall, their immortality secured. Yet, even in their triumph, the memory of Thjazi's boldness lingered, a reminder of how close they had come to losing everything. Thjazi's influence on the gods' immortality was profound, a tale that spoke to the vulnerability that even the mightiest beings can face. The giant, driven by his own ambition and cunning, had nearly brought the gods to their knees, showing that even in a world of immortals, the balance of power is fragile and can be tipped by the bold actions of one determined being. Though Thjazi was defeated, his story remains a powerful testament to the unpredictable nature of fate and the lengths to which one will go to seize power. In the cold, lonely mountains where he once ruled, the winds still whisper his name, a reminder of the giant who dared to challenge the gods and almost succeeded. In the heart of Norse mythology, where the heavens meet the earth and the fates of gods and giants intertwine, there exists a bond woven with both threads of loyalty and strands of rivalry. The giants, known as Jotun, and the gods of Asgard are not merely enemies locked in endless conflict. Their relationship is a complex dance of power, fear, love, and hatred, a reflection of the wild, untamed forces of nature itself. Among the frost and fire of the Nine Realms, there were times when giants and gods found common ground, forming alliances that seemed as unlikely as they were powerful. One such bond was that of Odin, the All-Father, and Mimir, a wise giant whose knowledge spanned the ages. Odin, ever seeking wisdom to lead his people, sought out Mimir and in a profound act of sacrifice, gave one of his own eyes in exchange for a drink from Mimir's well of knowledge. This act of trust and exchange was not one of a ruler demanding from a subject, but of equals recognizing the value in each other's strength. It was a bond forged not from enmity, but from a mutual respect that transcended the boundaries of their origins. Yet, not all alliances were born of respect. The marriage of Skadi, the giantess of winter, to Njord, the god of the sea, was a union formed out of necessity rather than love. After the death of her father Thjazi at the hands of the gods, Skadi sought retribution. The gods, fearing her wrath, offered her a choice, to choose a husband from among them or to wage war. Skadi, with the icy determination of her homeland, chose Njord. But their union was fraught with tension, a reflection of the stark contrast between the wild mountains of Jotunheim and the gentle waves of Njord seas. Their marriage, though formed as a truce, was a testament to the uneasy peace that sometimes existed between giants and gods, a peace that could fracture under the weight of their differences. Yet, amidst the rivalries and alliances, there was also love that transcended the boundaries between Jotun and Aesir, the gods of Asgard. Loki, the trickster god whose blood was part giant, was a living embodiment of this complex relationship. His very existence was a bridge between two worlds, a reminder that the line between giant and god was not always clear. Loki's marriage to the giantess Angerboda, from which sprang the monstrous children who would one day bring doom to the gods, was a union that symbolized both the inevitable blending of their fates and the dark consequences that such unions could bring. Their children, Fenrir the wolf, Jormungandr the serpent, and Hel the ruler of the underworld, were beings of immense power, destined to play crucial roles in Ragnarok, the twilight of the gods. These offspring were a constant reminder to the gods of the danger that lay in their mingling with the giants, a danger that could not be ignored. But not all relationships between giants and gods were born from love or respect. Many were defined by enmity, an ancient and ever-present rivalry that seemed woven into the fabric of the cosmos. The giants, embodying the untamed forces of nature, often stood in stark opposition to the gods, who represented order and civilization. This enmity was not simply a clash of personalities, but a reflection of the cosmic struggle between chaos and order, a struggle that played out in the endless battles between these two powerful races. Thor, the god of thunder, was perhaps the most famous of all the gods who fought against the giants. With his mighty hammer Mjolnir, Thor stood as the defender of Asgard, constantly battling against the giants who sought to bring destruction to the gods. His confrontations with giants like Hrungnir and Thrym were legendary, battles that shook the very foundations of the earth. Thor's relentless fight against the giants was not just a series of physical confrontations, but a symbol of the eternal struggle between the forces of chaos, represented by the giants, and the forces of order, represented by the gods. Yet, even Thor, the mighty giant slayer, was not without moments of connection to the giants. Jarnsaxa, a giantess, was the mother of his son Magni, a union that once again blurred the lines between giant and god. This relationship, like many others between the two races, was complex and fraught with contradictions. It was a bond that produced life, yet existed within a framework of enmity and conflict. The interplay between giants and gods was not simply one of black and white, of good versus evil. It was a relationship built on a foundation of mutual dependency, fear, and respect. The gods, despite their power, knew that they could not exist without the giants. The giants, with their connection to the primal forces of nature, held a power that the gods both coveted and feared. This relationship was like the changing of the seasons, sometimes peaceful, sometimes violent, but always inevitable. Even the great halls of Asgard could not shield the gods from the influence of the giants. The very roots of Yggdrasil, the world tree that connected all realms, were gnawed upon by the serpent Nidhogg, a creature born from the depths of chaos and destruction, realms often associated with the giants. This constant threat, always present yet never fully realized, was a reminder that the power of the giants could never be fully contained or ignored. The relationships between giants and gods were as varied and unpredictable as the forces of nature themselves. They loved and hated, made alliances and waged war, yet through it all, they were bound together by the threads of fate. Their interactions were a reflection of the world they inhabited, wild, untamed, and full of contradictions. The giants, with their immense power and deep connection to the natural world, were both the gods' greatest allies and their most formidable foes. And in this eternal dance of power and rivalry, neither side could ever truly dominate the other, for they were two sides of the same coin, forever locked in a struggle that would shape the fate of all worlds. In the world of Norse mythology, where gods walk among mortals and fate is woven with threads of both light and shadow, there exists a figure who embodies the essence of chaos and unpredictability. Loki, the trickster, is a being of contradictions, cunning and foolish, loyal and treacherous, beloved and despised. His presence is a storm in the calm, a flicker of flame in the darkness. But beneath his mischievous facade lies a truth that colors every action he takes. Loki carries within him the blood of giants. Loki's origins are a blend of the divine and the wild, born of the giantess Laufey and the giant Farbodi. This heritage placed Loki in a unique position, straddling the line between two worlds, those of the gods of Asgard and the giants of Jotunheim. Though he lived among the gods, sharing in their triumphs and tragedies, the essence of his giant blood pulsed through his veins, reminding him always that he was not truly one of them. This duality shaped Loki's destiny, driving him to both aid and betray the gods in equal measure, as if the giant within him could never fully reconcile with the god he aspired to be. Loki was a master of deceit, a being who could change his shape and his allegiances as easily as a serpent sheds its skin. He moved through the realms with the fluidity of a shadow, his intentions ever shifting, his loyalty as fleeting as the wind. To the gods, Loki was a friend, a companion in their adventures, and a source of endless amusement. He was the one who found solutions to their problems, often in ways no one else could imagine. Yet, this same Loki, who shared in their laughter and feasts, was also the one who sowed the seeds of their greatest sorrows. One of Loki's most notable acts was his involvement in the creation of the walls of Asgard. When the gods struck a deal with a giant to build these walls, Loki, with his cunning, agreed to let the giant use his horse in the construction, thinking it would delay the work and prevent the giant from fulfilling the contract. But the horse, Svadilfari, was no ordinary steed, and the walls neared completion far ahead of time. Faced with the wrath of the gods, Loki had to make a choice. He transformed himself into a mare, luring the horse away and eventually giving birth to Sleipnir, the eight-legged horse that would become Odin's steed. In this one act, Loki demonstrated both his cleverness and the lengths to which he would go to avoid the consequences of his actions. Yet, it was this same cleverness that often led Loki into trouble, as his actions, driven by both the god and the giant within him, caused ripples that turned into waves of chaos. His trickery was not just for amusement, it was a manifestation of his inner turmoil, the constant conflict between his dual natures. He played both sides, sometimes siding with the gods and other times with the giants, as if he were trying to find where he truly belonged. This indecision, this inability to choose a side, would ultimately lead to his downfall. Loki's giant blood also linked him to beings of great power and darkness. His union with the giantess Angrboda brought forth three monstrous children, Fenrir the wolf, Jormungandr the serpent, and Hel, the ruler of the underworld. These offspring were not just a threat to the gods, they were a reflection of Loki's own internal struggle. Each one embodied an aspect of the chaos that Loki himself harbored, a chaos that could not be contained and would one day bring about the end of the world as the gods knew it. Fenrir, the great wolf, was destined to break free from his bonds and devour Odin himself during Ragnarok, the final battle. Jormungandr, the serpent, would encircle the world and bring about its destruction with his venom. Hel, the most human of the three, would rule over the dead, a queen of shadows in a realm where the light of Asgard could not reach. In these children, Loki's dual nature was fully realized. They were born of both god and giant, just as Loki himself was, and they would be the instruments of both vengeance and fate. But Loki was not just a bringer of doom. There were moments when his actions, though mischievous, brought great gifts to the gods. It was Loki who tricked the dwarves into creating some of the most powerful artifacts in Norse mythology, including Thor's hammer, Mjolnir, and Odin's spear, Gungnir. These treasures became symbols of the gods' power, yet they were born of Loki's cunning, a reminder that even the most treacherous can also be the most resourceful. As time passed, however, Loki's mischief grew darker, his pranks more malicious. The bond between him and the gods began to fray. His role as both friend and foe became more pronounced, as if the giant within him was beginning to overpower the god. The breaking point came with the death of Baldur, the beloved son of Odin. Loki's involvement in Baldur's death was the final betrayal, the act that sealed his fate as the gods' enemy. No longer could they tolerate his presence among them, for he had crossed the line from trickster to traitor. Bound by the gods as punishment for his deeds, Loki's giant blood boiled with fury. He was chained to a rock with the entrails of his own son, and a serpent was placed above him to drip venom onto his face. In agony, Loki twisted and writhed, his torment echoing through the realms. But even in his suffering, he knew that his time would come. The giant within him, the force of chaos and destruction, could not be silenced forever. One day, he would break free, and with him would come the end of all things. Loki's story is one of duality, of a being torn between two worlds, never fully belonging to either. His giant heritage was both his strength and his curse, driving him to acts of brilliance and treachery. He was a friend to the gods, but also their greatest enemy, a symbol of the chaos that lies just beneath the surface of order, waiting for the moment to rise and consume everything in its path. And in the end, it was this chaos that defined Loki, the trickster with giant blood, who could never escape the shadow of his own nature. In the shadowed forests of Jotunheim, where the winds whispered tales of ancient power, there lived a giantess whose name would be spoken with both fear and reverence. Angrboda, the bringer of grief, was no ordinary giantess. She carried within her a darkness that even the gods of Asgard could not ignore. From her union with Loki, the trickster god with giant blood, came 3 children who would shake the very foundations of the world. These were no ordinary offspring, they were the harbingers of doom, the children who would fulfill a prophecy that loomed over the gods like a storm on the horizon. The first of Angrboda's children was Fenrir, the great wolf whose strength was unmatched by any creature in the 9 realms. From the moment of his birth, Fenrir was feared. The gods knew that this wolf was no mere beast, he was a force of nature, destined to bring destruction to Asgard. As Fenrir grew, so did the gods dread. No chain could hold him, no cage could contain his ferocity. The gods, desperate to prevent the prophecy that foretold their doom, tricked Fenrir into allowing them to bind him with a magical ribbon, Gleipnir, made from impossible things, the sound of a cat's footfall, the beard of a woman, and other such wonders. But even as they secured him, the gods knew that this was not a permanent solution. Fenrir's anger burned within him, a fire that would one day ignite into a blaze that no one could extinguish. And so, the wolf waited, his rage simmering as he bided his time. He knew what the gods had done to him, and he would not forget. Fenrir's eyes, like twin orbs of molten gold, watched the passing of the ages, his hunger for vengeance growing with each moment. The gods had sown the seeds of their own destruction, and one day, Fenrir would break free. The prophecy was clear. In the time of Ragnarok, the end of all things, Fenrir would swallow Odin, the All-Father, in a final act of defiance. This was the fate that the gods feared above all, and it was a fate that Angrboda, the mother of this monstrous wolf, had brought into being. But Fenrir was not Angrboda's only child. Her second son, Jormungandr, was a serpent so vast that he encircled the entire world, his body coiling beneath the oceans, his scales shimmering with an otherworldly light. Jormungandr, the Midgard serpent, was a creature of unimaginable power, his venom capable of destroying all life it touched. From the depths of the sea, Jormungandr watched the world above, his presence a constant reminder of the fragile balance that existed between the realms. He, too, was bound by prophecy, a prophecy that foretold his battle with Thor, the god of thunder, at Ragnarok. In this final confrontation, the serpent and the god would clash with such fury that the earth itself would tremble. Jormungandr's venom would poison the sky, and though Thor would slay the serpent, he would take only 9 steps before succumbing to the poison. The death of Thor would mark the beginning of the end, a cataclysm that would signal the fall of the gods. Angrboda's third child was Hel, a daughter whose domain was the land of the dead. Hel was given a realm of her own, far from the light of Asgard, where she ruled over the souls of those who did not die in battle. Half of her body was that of a living woman, while the other half was a decaying corpse, a reflection of her dominion over both life and death. Hel's kingdom was a place of shadows, a cold and desolate land where the souls of the dead lingered, waiting for an eternity that would never end. Unlike her brothers, Hel was not destined to bring destruction through battle, but through her control over the afterlife. The gods, knowing that Hel's power lay in her ability to command the dead, feared what would happen if she ever turned her gaze towards Asgard. She was a queen of the forgotten, a ruler of the damned, and her influence stretched far beyond the borders of her cold realm. Together, the children of Angrboda embodied the forces that would bring about the end of the gods. Their existence was a constant reminder of the prophecy that hung over Asgard, a prophecy that even the mightiest of the gods could not escape. Angrboda, through her children, had sown the seeds of Ragnarok, the twilight of the gods, when the world would be consumed by fire and ice, and the old order would be swept away in a tide of chaos. It was not just the power of these monsters that terrified the gods, but the inevitability of their fates. The prophecy had been spoken, and it was a fate that no one could change. Odin, the wisest of the gods, had tried to prevent it by binding Fenrir, banishing Hel, and keeping a watchful eye on Jormungandr, but in doing so, he only ensured that the prophecy would come to pass. For in the world of Norse mythology, fate is a force stronger than any god or giant, a thread that winds its way through the lives of all beings, drawing them towards their destined end. Angrboda, the mother of monsters, was not merely a giantess. She was a force of destiny, a bringer of the end, whose children would shape the fate of the world. Her offspring were not just creatures of darkness, they were the living embodiments of the forces that would bring about the twilight of the gods. Fenrir, with his unyielding strength, Jormungandr, with his world-encompassing might, and Hel, with her dominion over the dead, were the instruments of a prophecy that had been set in motion long before their birth. And in their hands, the fate of the gods, and the world, rested. The impact of Angrboda's children was felt across the 9 realms, a shadow that loomed over both gods and men. The gods, in their wisdom and might, could not escape the destiny that had been foretold, and in the end, it was the children of Angrboda who would bring their world to its knees. They were not just monsters, they were the harbingers of a new era, one where the old gods would fall, and a new order would rise from the ashes of the old. And at the center of it all was Angrboda, the giantess whose legacy would be written in the blood of gods and the tears of a world undone. Freyr, the god of fertility and sunlight, stood in the lush meadows of Asgard, his heart weighed down by a longing he could not explain. As he gazed into the distance, his eyes fell upon something so beautiful, so radiant, that it seemed to draw the very breath from his lungs. There, in the far-off land of Jotunheim, stood Gerd, a giantess of unmatched beauty. Her skin glowed like the sun-kissed snow, her hair shimmered like golden wheat fields swaying in a gentle breeze. Freyr had never seen such a vision of loveliness, and in that moment, he knew his heart was no longer his own. But Gerd was a giantess, born of a race that had long been at odds with the gods of Asgard. The love that bloomed in Freyr's heart was forbidden, a love that could bring the wrath of his kin upon him. Yet, the heart wants what it wants, and Freyr could no longer deny the burning desire that consumed him. He knew he must have her, no matter the cost. He could not eat, could not sleep, for Gerd's image was all he could see, all he could think about. In his despair, Freyr turned to his loyal servant, Skirnir, and confided in him the depth of his feelings for Gerd. Skirnir, seeing the anguish of his beloved master, agreed to journey to Jotunheim and plead Freyr's case to Gerd. He knew the dangers that awaited him in the land of giants, but his loyalty to Freyr gave him the strength to face whatever might come. Freyr, in a gesture that showed the depth of his desperation, handed Skirnir his magical sword, a weapon that fought on its own, one of the most powerful artifacts in Asgard. This sword was Freyr's most prized possession, yet he gave it up willingly, for in his heart, he believed that no weapon, no matter how powerful, was worth more than Gerd's love. Skirnir set out on his journey, the magical sword at his side, his heart heavy with the weight of his task. He traveled through the dark and dangerous paths of Jotunheim, his resolve unshaken by the threats that lurked in every shadow. When he finally reached Gerd's home, he was struck by her beauty, as Freyr had been. But Skirnir knew he was there not for himself, but for his master, whose love for Gerd had driven him to the brink of madness. At first, Gerd was hesitant. She was a giantess, and the gods had always been enemies of her kind. Why should she trust Skirnir, a servant of the gods, who came bearing gifts and promises of love? But Skirnir spoke of Freyr's devotion, his willingness to give up his sword, the very weapon that had won him countless battles, just to win her heart. Gerd's heart softened as she listened to Skirnir's words, and she began to see that Freyr's love was pure, untainted by the hatred that had long divided their two races. Gerd agreed to meet Freyr, and when they finally stood before each other, it was as if the world itself had stopped turning. Their eyes met, and in that moment, all the barriers that had separated gods and giants melted away. Freyr and Gerd were no longer bound by the ancient enmity of their people, but by the love that had brought them together. Their union was more than just a marriage, it was a symbol of the harmony that could exist between two opposing forces. Freyr, the god of light and life, had found his match in Gerd, a giantess from the dark, untamed land of Jotunheim. Their love was a beacon of hope in a world where conflict and strife often overshadowed peace and unity. Freyr's sacrifice, his willingness to give up his sword, showed that love was stronger than any weapon, that it had the power to bridge even the widest of chasms. The marriage of Freyr and Gerd brought joy to the land. The earth flourished under Freyr's care, nourished by the love that now filled his heart. Crops grew taller, the harvests were more bountiful, and the people of Midgard, the world of men, prospered as never before. The union of Freyr and Gerd had brought balance to the world, a balance that was reflected in the changing of the seasons, the turning of the tides, and the growth of all living things. But their love was not without its challenges. The gods of Asgard were wary of this union, fearing that it might weaken their hold on the world. They watched with suspicion, ready to act if Gerd's loyalty wavered. Yet Gerd remained true to Freyr, her love for him unshakable despite the tension that simmered beneath the surface. Freyr, too, faced doubts and uncertainties, but his love for Gerd gave him the strength to rise above them. In time, the gods came to accept the marriage of Freyr and Gerd, seeing in it the potential for a new era of peace and cooperation between their people and the giants. The marriage of Freyr and Gerd was more than just a union of two beings, it was a testament to the power of love to transcend boundaries, to heal old wounds, and to create something beautiful out of the most unlikely of circumstances. The love story of Freyr and Gerd is one of hope, a reminder that even in a world divided by hatred and fear, love has the power to bring people together. It is a story of sacrifice, of the lengths one will go to for the one they love. And it is a story of triumph, of how love can overcome even the most insurmountable of odds. Freyr's love for Gerd, and her love for him, is a shining example of the transformative power of love, a power that can turn enemies into allies, and darkness into light. In the vast expanse of the sea, where the waves roar and the depths hold untold mysteries, there dwells a giant whose presence is as formidable as the ocean itself. Aegir, the mighty sea giant, is both a friend and a danger to those who traverse his watery domain. His name evokes awe and trepidation, for he embodies the dual nature of the sea, its beauty and its peril. Aegir's home is a grand hall beneath the waves, a shimmering palace crafted from the very essence of the ocean. It is a place of dazzling beauty, where the light filters through the water, casting a golden glow upon everything it touches. Here, Aegir hosts the gods in grand feasts, his hall filled with the laughter and merriment of those who come to celebrate in his domain. The gods, who are accustomed to the grandeur of Asgard, find in Aegir's hall a different kind of splendor, one that is wild and untamed, much like the sea itself. As a host, Aegir is known for his generosity and his ability to provide the gods with a feast that surpasses all others. His great cauldron, known as Eldrimner, is filled with a never-ending supply of ale, and the gods revel in the bounty he provides. The sea giant's hospitality is legendary, and his feasts are the stuff of myth, celebrated for their abundance and the joy they bring. Yet, beneath this veneer of friendliness lies the true nature of Aegir, one that reflects the unpredictable and often perilous nature of the sea. For Aegir is not merely a benevolent host, he is a reminder of the dangers that lie in the deep. The sea, though beautiful, is also treacherous, and Aegir embodies this duality in his own being. Sailors speak of Aegir with a mixture of reverence and fear. To them, Aegir represents both the promise of safe passage and the threat of sudden destruction. The sea giant's moods can change as quickly as the weather, and a calm sea can turn into a raging storm at a moment's notice. This unpredictability makes Aegir both a friend and a foe to those who make their living on the water. The stories told by sailors are filled with tales of ships lost to the sea, of brave men who faced the wrath of Aegir and paid the ultimate price. These stories are often recounted with a sense of solemn respect, for they are a reminder of the power that Aegir wields. He is both the giver of life and the bringer of death, a force that commands respect from all who venture into his realm. In moments of calm, when the sea is gentle and the waters are clear, Aegir's presence is a blessing. Sailors feel safe under his watchful gaze, their fears eased by the gentle rocking of their ships. But when the winds pick up and the waves grow angry, Aegir's true nature is revealed. The sea becomes a tumultuous expanse, and the once placid waters turn into a maelstrom of chaos. In these times, Aegir's duality is apparent. He is both a protector and a destroyer, his moods as changeable as the tides. The gods themselves are not immune to Aegir's capricious nature. Though they enjoy his feasts and celebrate his hospitality, they are also wary of his power. Aegir's ability to summon storms and stir the seas is a reminder of the limits of even their divine strength. They know that the sea giant's favor is fleeting, and that the calm they enjoy is always subject to change. In their stories and songs, Aegir is both a friend and a warning, a reminder of the fragile balance between safety and danger. Aegir's role as a giant of the sea is a reflection of the ocean's own duality, a place of beauty and danger, of calm and chaos. His presence is a testament to the unpredictable nature of the sea, and his story is a reminder of the respect that must be paid to the forces of nature. To those who sail upon the waters, Aegir is a figure of both awe and fear, a symbol of the power that lies beneath the surface. The sea giant's influence is felt far beyond his watery domain. His role in Norse mythology is a reminder of the profound connection between the gods and the natural world. Aegir's feasts are a celebration of the bounty that the sea provides, while his storms are a stark reminder of its power. Through him, the Norse people understood the delicate balance between gratitude and respect, between enjoyment and caution. In the end, Aegir is a giant who embodies the essence of the sea, a place of immense beauty and peril. His story is a reflection of the power and majesty of the ocean, and his presence serves as a reminder of the respect and awe that must be given to the forces of nature. For in the depths of the sea, where Aegir reigns, the line between friend and foe is as fluid as the waters themselves. In the heart of Asgard, where the golden halls shimmer under a never-ending twilight, a great fear had begun to stir. The gods, secure in their celestial fortress, faced an ever-looming threat from the giants of Jotunheim. The giants' strength and anger had long been a shadow over the gods' peace. To ensure their safety, the gods knew they needed a mighty wall, a barrier strong enough to protect them from the giants' relentless fury. One day, a giant builder arrived at Asgard, his eyes filled with the promise of something extraordinary. He claimed he could build a wall so strong that no force could ever breach it. The gods, desperate for protection, listened intently. But the builder had a demand. If he succeeded, he would be rewarded with the goddess Freya, the sun, and the moon. The gods, caught between their need and their greed, hesitated but were eventually swayed by the need for security. In a moment of great folly, the gods agreed. Little did they know that the builder had a cunning plan of his own. The wall he promised was more than a mere barrier. It was to be a masterpiece of strength, capable of withstanding any attack. But the builder had a secret weapon, his enormous, magical stallion named Svadilfari. With Svadilfari's help, the builder worked day and night, carving out a colossal wall that grew with astonishing speed. As the days passed, the wall took shape, its grandeur becoming apparent. The gods, though impressed, were troubled. The deadline for the builder's reward was drawing near, and the gods began to worry. What would they do if the builder succeeded? The prospect of losing Freya and the sun and moon was unbearable. Desperate to thwart the builder's plan, the gods turned to Loki, the trickster. Loki, known for his cunning and resourcefulness, was tasked with stopping the builder. Loki, with his sharp wit, devised a plan to outwit the giant. He transformed himself into a beautiful mare and lured Svadilfari away from his work. The stallion, captivated by the mare, followed Loki into the woods, leaving the builder helpless and unable to complete his work. Without his stallion, the giant's progress on the wall came to a halt. The once promising wall was left incomplete, and the builder, furious and defeated, realized he had been tricked. His promise to the gods was now null and void, and his dream of claiming Freya, the sun, and the moon was shattered. In his rage, the giant revealed his true nature, a fearsome, powerful giant who now sought vengeance. The gods, with Loki's trickery having saved them, were left to confront the giant's fury. The incomplete wall, though still a formidable structure, was not finished to the builder's original standards. It stood as a reminder of the gods' near defeat and the danger that still lurked beyond. The gods, grateful for their narrow escape, understood the importance of the wall. It symbolized their need for protection and the strength required to keep their enemies at bay. The story of the giant builder and Loki's deception is a tale of desperation, trickery, and the high stakes of divine protection. It highlights the gods' vulnerability and the lengths they were willing to go to ensure their safety. The incomplete wall remains a testament to the gods' narrow escape and a reminder of the ever-present threat from the giants. The gods of Asgard learned a valuable lesson that day, that security comes at a cost and that even the mightiest of defenses must be vigilantly maintained. The thunder rumbled across the skies as Thor, the god of thunder, set out on a perilous journey into Jotunheim, the land of giants. His heart was heavy with determination, for the giants, who roamed the rugged and treacherous land, were a constant threat to Asgard. Thor's quest was not merely about proving his might, but about safeguarding the realms from the giants' unrelenting menace. Thor's encounters with the giants were as fierce as the storms he controlled. The giants of Jotunheim were colossal beings, each one a formidable challenge that tested Thor's strength and courage. The land itself seemed to conspire against him, with its jagged mountains and icy plains adding to the struggle. Yet, it was Thor's strength, both physical and mental, that stood as the beacon of hope for the gods. In one of his most notable battles, Thor faced off against the giant Hrungnir, a towering figure whose sheer size seemed to match the mountains themselves. Hrungnir was a force of nature, his every step shaking the earth beneath him. The giant wielded a massive stone hammer, a weapon that could crush anything in its path. But Thor, with his own enchanted hammer, Mjolnir, stood undaunted. The clash between Thor and Hrungnir was a thunderous spectacle, with each swing of their hammers echoing across the land. In the end, it was Thor's relentless spirit and unmatched strength that brought down the giant, sending him crashing to the ground in defeat. Another tale speaks of Thor's encounter with the giant Utgard Loki, a cunning and devious figure who used trickery to challenge Thor and his companions. Utgard Loki lured Thor and his friends into a series of seemingly impossible challenges, testing their might and resolve. Thor, though faced with illusions and deceit, never wavered. His strength was not just in his physical prowess, but also in his unwavering will to protect the realms from those who sought to harm them. Thor's journey through Jotunheim was marked by numerous battles, each one showcasing his incredible strength and unyielding bravery. Yet, it was not just brute force that defined Thor. His encounters with the giants often revealed his cunning and quick thinking. For instance, when faced with the giant Skrymir, whose size and strength seemed insurmountable, Thor initially struggled. But it was Thor's ability to see through the giant's tricks and his relentless perseverance that eventually led to his victory. Thor's strength was more than a mere display of power, it was a symbol of hope and protection for the gods and the people of Asgard. Each victory against the giants was a testament to his role as the defender of the realms. The giants, with their immense power and often malevolent intentions, were a constant threat, but Thor's might stood as a formidable barrier against their destructive plans. The significance of Thor's strength went beyond individual battles. His bravery and power were a reassurance to the gods and the people, a promise that no matter how dire the threat, they had a protector who would stand against the giants' overwhelming force. The very storms and thunder that Thor commanded became a sign of his presence and his readiness to defend against any threat that came from Jotunheim. Thor's journey through the land of giants was a saga of courage, strength, and resilience. Each encounter with the giants was a reminder of the eternal struggle between the forces of order and chaos. Thor's victories were not just about defeating foes, but about ensuring that the light of Asgard and the safety of the realms were preserved. Through his battles and triumphs, Thor's strength became a beacon of hope, a powerful reminder of the unwavering courage that could stand against even the most fearsome of adversaries. The sky darkened as the thunder god Thor faced one of his most terrifying challenges. The mighty hammer Mjolnir, a symbol of his strength and a vital tool in defending the realms, had been stolen. The culprit was Thrym, a fearsome giant whose name struck fear into the hearts of all who heard it. Thrym had stolen Mjolnir and hidden it away, demanding the goddess Freya as his bride in exchange for its return. The news of Mjolnir's theft sent shockwaves through Asgard. Without his hammer, Thor was vulnerable, and the threat of the giants loomed larger than ever. The gods knew that they had to act quickly to retrieve Mjolnir and prevent Thrym from using it for his own destructive purposes. But how could they outwit a giant who had so easily taken what was most precious to Thor? Loki, ever the trickster and problem solver, stepped forward with a plan. He suggested that Thor disguise himself as Freya and go to Thrym's hall to retrieve the hammer. At first, the idea seemed absurd. Thor, the mighty god of thunder, disguising himself as a woman? It was a prospect that made even the bravest of gods shudder. Yet, there was no other option. The gods, desperate to get Mjolnir back, agreed to Loki's plan. Thor, though uneasy about the disguise, donned a bridal gown and a veil. Loki, ever the schemer, took on the role of Thor's maid. They set off for Thrym's land, a journey filled with anxiety and hope. As they approached Thrym's hall, Thor's heart pounded with a mix of dread and determination. Thrym was overjoyed to see what he thought was Freya arriving. He welcomed them with great fanfare, completely oblivious to the trickery unfolding before him. Inside the hall, Thor, hidden under layers of fabric, felt a wave of vulnerability. The sight of the giant towering over him, the laughter and merriment around, made his task seem even more daunting. When Thrym brought out Mjolnir to bless the wedding feast, Thor's heart skipped a beat. The hammer was within his grasp, but not yet. Thrym's excitement made him careless. He insisted on performing the ritual to consecrate the marriage, which meant placing Mjolnir on Thor's lap. Thor, struggling to maintain his disguise, waited for the right moment. As Thrym leaned in, his excitement evident, Loki began to act. He whispered to Thor, urging him to prepare for action. With a sudden and powerful movement, Thor cast aside his disguise, revealing his true self. The hall erupted into chaos as Thor seized Mjolnir with a roar that shook the very walls. The giant's shock turned to terror as Thor unleashed his fury. The battle that followed was fierce and swift. With Mjolnir in hand, Thor unleashed a storm of thunder and lightning upon Thrym and his companions. The giants, caught off guard and overwhelmed, were no match for Thor's wrath. In the aftermath of the battle, Thor stood victorious, Mjolnir restored to his rightful place. The gods of Asgard celebrated, their spirits lifted by the return of their greatest weapon. The tale of the theft and recovery of Mjolnir became a legend, a story of bravery, quick thinking, and the lengths to which Thor and Loki went to protect their home. The theft of Thor's hammer was more than just a tale of a stolen weapon, it was a story of vulnerability, cleverness, and the unyielding bond between gods. Thor's disguise and the daring plan to retrieve Mjolnir highlighted the courage and ingenuity that defined the gods' struggle against their enemies. Through trickery and a fierce battle, Thor reclaimed his hammer and reaffirmed his role as the protector of Asgard. The shadows of fate cast long and ominous over the gods of Asgard, for they knew that their destinies were intertwined with the monstrous offspring of Loki. Among them was Fenrir, the giant wolf whose very existence was a harbinger of doom. As Fenrir grew, so did his power. What began as a small and innocent pup quickly turned into a beast of terrifying might. His size and strength grew beyond anything the gods had ever imagined, and with each passing day, he became a greater threat. The gods, troubled by the prophecy that foretold Fenrir's role in their destruction, understood that they had to act. The prophecy spoke of a day when Fenrir would break free from his chains and wreak havoc upon the world. It was a future they could not ignore, so they set out to bind the wolf and prevent the terrifying fate that awaited them. At first, the gods attempted to bind Fenrir with ordinary chains, but the wolf shattered them with ease. Each failure only served to increase the fear among the gods. They knew that Fenrir was destined to play a crucial role in the coming chaos, and their anxiety grew as the beast's power continued to swell. The gods realized they needed something stronger, something that could withstand Fenrir's might. The gods sought the help of the dwarves, master craftsmen known for their skill and ingenuity. The dwarves forged a chain called Gleipnir, crafted from 6 impossible things: the sound of a cat's footsteps, the beard of a woman, the roots of a mountain, the sinews of a bear, the breath of a fish, and the spittle of a bird. This chain was deceptively thin but possessed a strength that no ordinary force could break. With Gleipnir in hand, the gods prepared to confront Fenrir. They approached the wolf with feigned innocence, inviting him to test his strength against this new chain. Fenrir, ever confident in his power, agreed to the challenge. The gods bound him with the chain, and as they did, Fenrir began to sense something was amiss. He grew suspicious, realizing that this chain might be the one that could hold him. In a moment of intense struggle, Fenrir tried to break free, but the chain held firm. The gods, watching with bated breath, knew that they had succeeded in binding the beast. Fenrir's fury was palpable, his eyes blazing with a mixture of anger and betrayal. He roared and thrashed, but Gleipnir remained unyielding. Fenrir, now bound, knew that his fate was sealed. The gods had managed to imprison him, but not without cost. To ensure that Fenrir would not break free, they placed him in a deep, dark cave, where he remained, waiting for the day when the chains would finally break and he would fulfill his role in the prophecy. The binding of Fenrir was not just a story of strength and chains, but of the gods' desperate attempts to outwit fate. The prophecy that foretold Fenrir's role in the destruction of the gods hung over them like a dark cloud. The binding was an act of defiance against the inevitability of fate, a struggle to maintain control over a future that seemed beyond their grasp. Fenrir's imprisonment was a stark reminder of the limitations of the gods' power. Despite their efforts and their ability to forge change from the very essence of impossible things, they could not escape the grasp of fate. The wolf remained a looming threat, a symbol of the inevitable end that awaited them. The story of Fenrir's growth and eventual binding is a tale of fear, strength, and the unrelenting pull of destiny. It is a reminder of the limits of power and the profound impact of prophecy on the lives of the gods. As Fenrir waits in his dark prison, the gods can only hope that their actions will delay the prophecy's fulfillment and give them a chance to face their fate with courage and resilience. In the vast, untamed land of giants, Thor found himself face to face with Skrymir, a giant whose size and strength dwarfed even the mighty thunder god. This encounter would turn out to be one of the most humbling experiences for Thor, revealing the limits of sheer physical power and teaching him a lesson he would never forget. Thor and his companions, Loki and the god of thunder's 2 servants, were traveling through the wilderness when they stumbled upon Skrymir. The giant was resting under a tree, his enormous bulk casting a long shadow over the land. Thor, always eager to prove his might, saw an opportunity to show off his strength. With a thunderous roar, he challenged the giant, hoping to demonstrate that even the mightiest of giants were no match for him. Skrymir greeted them with a casual wave and a booming voice that shook the earth. He invited Thor and his companions to join him for a meal, offering them bread from his magical bag. The giant's nonchalant demeanor seemed almost mocking to Thor, who was determined to prove his superiority. The first test of strength came when Thor attempted to crush a small stone with his hammer. He swung Mjolnir with all his might, but the stone remained untouched, barely even dented. Skrymir watched with a bemused expression and explained that he had created the stone from a piece of his own flesh, which was why Thor's strength could not harm it. Undeterred, Thor decided to take on Skrymir in a contest of strength. He and his companions laid down their bedding beside the giant, only to be woken in the middle of the night by a thunderous crash. Skrymir had apparently slept without even noticing the disturbance, while Thor's efforts to lift the giant's massive bag and move it were in vain. Every attempt was met with failure, as the bag seemed to grow heavier the more Thor struggled. In the morning, Thor's frustration reached its peak. He demanded a rematch, thinking that perhaps he could outwit the giant. Skrymir agreed and challenged Thor to an even more difficult task, to solve 3 riddles. Despite Thor's best efforts, the giant's riddles proved impossible to solve, each answer revealing a deeper layer of Skrymir's own cunning and strength. Thor's pride was wounded. He realized that his power, while formidable, was not enough to overcome Skrymir's magical abilities and seemingly invincible nature. Skrymir's bag, with its endless supply of food, symbolized the vast difference between the gods and the giants. The giant's strength and wit were beyond anything Thor had anticipated. In the end, it was not brute force, but humility and understanding that triumphed. Thor learned that there were limits to his strength and that true power was not always about physical might. Skrymir's magic bag and his seemingly insurmountable riddles had shown Thor that even the strongest warrior could be humbled by forces beyond his control. The encounter with Skrymir left a lasting impression on Thor. It was a powerful reminder that strength alone could not solve every problem. Thor returned to Asgard with a new perspective, understanding that the gods' struggles against the giants were not just battles of might, but also tests of wisdom, patience, and humility. The giant's magic bag and his lessons in strength revealed that true power lay not only in physical prowess, but in the ability to adapt and learn from the challenges life presented. In the chilling winds of Norse mythology, the prophecy of Ragnarok stands as a shadowy forewarning, a harbinger of the end times that chills the very core of existence. This prophecy speaks of a time when the world will be torn apart, where gods and giants will clash in a final, cataclysmic battle, leading to the end of the world as it is known. The giants, known as Jotun, hold a central role in this foretold apocalypse. They are not just distant, mythical beings, but are integral to the cosmic cycle of creation and destruction. According to the prophecy, it is the giants who will rise against the gods of Asgard, leading to an epic confrontation. Their leader, Surtur, the fire giant, will set the world ablaze, and alongside him, other giants will bring forth chaos and ruin. Their role is not just one of antagonism but of balance, bringing about the end necessary for a new beginning. The prophecy speaks of the giants marching to Asgard, the fortress of the gods, with vengeance in their hearts. The end times will be marked by a series of catastrophic events. The world will plunge into darkness, the earth will tremble, and the heavens will crack open. The gods, including Thor, Odin, and others, will fight valiantly against the giants, but the battle will be fierce and unforgiving. The gods will fall, the sun and moon will be swallowed by monstrous wolves, and the sky will be set ablaze by Surtur's fiery sword. This vision of destruction is not just a tale of doom but a deeply rooted part of Norse belief. Prophecies like these were seen as inevitable truths, woven into the very fabric of the universe. They were not merely stories to scare or entertain, but were reflections of a belief in a cyclical nature of time, where every end was a precursor to a new beginning. For the ancient Norse people, the prophecy of Ragnarok carried a heavy weight. It was a reminder of the impermanence of life and the inevitability of change. It reinforced the belief that no matter how powerful or revered, all beings, gods and giants alike, were subject to the forces of fate. It was a call to live with honor and courage, knowing that even in the face of certain doom, one's actions and bravery would be remembered. The giants' role in the prophecy was a stark reminder of their integral place in the cosmic order. They were not just enemies, but vital components of the universe's grand design. The destruction of the world paved the way for its rebirth, and their clash with the gods was a necessary step in the cycle of renewal. The giants were not mere antagonists, but were part of the divine tapestry that held the universe together. The prophecy of Ragnarok, with its vivid and terrifying imagery, serves as a powerful testament to the Norse understanding of life, death, and rebirth. It captures the essence of their belief in a universe where destruction is intertwined with creation, and where the end is just another beginning. The giants, as foretold agents of chaos, play a crucial role in this cosmic drama, underscoring the complex interplay between fate, power, and existence. In the final, fiery chapter of the Norse saga, Surtur, the colossal fire giant, emerges as the harbinger of doom, playing a role that will shape the fate of gods and the world itself. As the prophecy of Ragnarok unfolds, Surtur's presence is both feared and revered, embodying the power of destruction and the promise of rebirth. The sky darkens, and the world trembles as Surtur, wielding a blazing sword, marches from Muspelheim, the realm of fire. His arrival is not just a spectacle of flame but a prelude to the cataclysmic events of Ragnarok. Surtur's role is pivotal. He is the force that ignites the world into chaos. With each step, his fiery path scorches the earth, signaling the beginning of the end. His sword, glowing with intense heat, is not merely a weapon but a symbol of the destructive power that will engulf the universe. Surtur's battle with the gods is both awe-inspiring and terrifying. As he clashes with the divine beings of Asgard, the confrontation is not just a struggle of might but a cosmic struggle between creation and destruction. The gods, including Odin, Thor, and others, fight valiantly to defend their realm, but Surtur's power is overwhelming. His flames consume everything in their path, scorching the heavens and the earth alike. The gods' strength and bravery are pushed to their limits, revealing the depth of their struggle against a force that seems unstoppable. In the heart of this epic battle, Surtur's symbolism goes beyond mere fire and destruction. Fire, in Norse mythology, is not just a force of annihilation but a fundamental element of transformation. Surtur's flames represent both the end and the possibility of new beginnings. As the world burns, it is consumed by the very fire that will eventually clear the way for a new, reborn world. Surtur's destruction is not senseless chaos but a necessary step in the cosmic cycle, a purging that makes way for renewal. The intensity of Surtur's role in Ragnarok underscores the profound belief in the cyclical nature of existence. His fiery onslaught, while devastating, is also a promise of rebirth. The world that will emerge from the ashes of his flames is not the same as before, but is a new beginning forged from the remnants of the old. This transformation is a central theme in Norse mythology, where destruction is intertwined with creation, and every end is a precursor to a new start. Surtur's battle with the gods, his fiery path, and his ultimate triumph in setting the world ablaze are vivid reminders of the powerful symbolism fire holds. It is a force that consumes, destroys, and yet, in its wake, makes way for renewal. The end of the world, as dictated by Surtur's role in Ragnarok, is not just a tale of loss but of the promise of regeneration, a cycle that reflects the enduring belief in the balance between destruction and creation. Surtur's fiery presence is a poignant representation of the intense and often painful process of transformation, a reminder that even in the face of overwhelming destruction, there lies the potential for a new beginning. His role in Ragnarok is both a terrifying spectacle and a symbol of the eternal cycle of life, death, and rebirth, making his story one of the most powerful and evocative elements of Norse mythology. In the heart of an apocalyptic storm, the final battle unfolds on the vast, barren plains of Vierd. This is the scene where the fate of gods and giants is sealed, where every swing of a sword and clash of shield will determine the future of the cosmos. As the sky burns and the earth quakes, Vierd becomes a stage for the ultimate confrontation between divine and monstrous forces. At the forefront of this epic clash stands Odin, the All-Father, leading the gods with a fierce determination in his eyes. His presence is a beacon of hope amidst the chaos, though even he knows that the odds are grim. Beside him fights Thor, the thunder god, his mighty hammer Mjolnir raised high, ready to strike down any foe that dares challenge him. Thor's anger fuels his every blow, his heart heavy with the knowledge that this battle may be his last. Opposing them are the giants, fierce and relentless, their numbers seemingly endless. Surtur, the fire giant, stands as a towering figure of destruction. His sword, ablaze with otherworldly flames, promises to set the world afire. With each swing, he creates waves of heat that scorch everything in their path, a fiery harbinger of doom. The frost giants, led by the formidable Jormungandr, the world serpent, add their own brand of terror to the battlefield. Jormungandr coils through the chaos, his massive form causing tremors with every movement. The battle at Vierd is not just a test of strength, but a profound struggle against fate itself. The gods and giants clash with a fury that shakes the heavens. Odin confronts Fenrir, the monstrous wolf, whose sheer size and ferocity seem almost insurmountable. The air is filled with the sound of their epic struggle, the growls of Fenrir and the roars of Odin blending into a cacophony of combat. Odin's spear strikes true, but Fenrir's might is overwhelming, and the battle is a dance of life and death. Thor faces Jormungandr in a duel that is nothing short of legendary. The thunder god's hammer smashes down upon the serpent with a force that echoes across the battlefield, while Jormungandr's venomous strikes threaten to bring Thor to his knees. The ground beneath them is littered with the remnants of their titanic struggle, each blow reverberating with the weight of their fate. As the battle rages, the gods fight valiantly but are ultimately overwhelmed. Odin falls to Fenrir's jaws, his final breath a testament to the bravery and sacrifice of a god who fought to the end. Thor, having slain Jormungandr, is struck down by the serpent's venom, his final moments a poignant reminder of the heavy cost of victory. The end of the battle brings a somber, fiery conclusion. Surtur's flames consume the world, setting the sky ablaze and reducing the earth to ashes. The gods' brave stand is both a final act of defiance and a necessary part of the cycle of destruction and rebirth. The once vibrant cosmos is now a field of ruin, but within the destruction lies the promise of a new beginning, as foretold by the ancient prophecies. The battle at Vigrid is not just a tale of conflict, but a reflection of the Norse belief in the inevitable cycle of life and death. The god's sacrifice and the giant's destruction are part of a grand, eternal dance, where every end is a prelude to a new beginning. In the aftermath, as the world smolders and cools, it is a stark reminder of the harsh, unyielding nature of fate and the enduring hope that emerges from even the darkest of endings. On the smoldering battlefield of Vigrid, where fire and fury rage, Thor faces his greatest foe, Jormungandr, the world serpent. The tension between them is palpable, like the stillness before a thunderstorm. Thor, the thunder god, grips his hammer Mjolnir, his knuckles white with the intensity of his resolve. His eyes lock onto the immense serpent, a creature so vast it coils around the world, its head rearing above the chaos like a dragon of old myths. Jormungandr's presence is terrifying. The serpent's scales glisten with venom, a deadly sheen that promises ruin. Every hiss and flick of its tongue is a threat of poison and destruction. As it rears back to strike, its massive jaws open wide, revealing fangs that could pierce the heavens. Thor's heart pounds in his chest, the anticipation of the coming battle mixing with the fear of what might happen. With a roar that shakes the very earth, Thor hurls Mjolnir with all his might. The hammer flies through the air, a streak of lightning against the darkened sky. It connects with the serpent, striking Jormungandr with a force that reverberates through the battlefield. The impact sends shockwaves across the ground, knocking other combatants off their feet. The serpent writhes in pain, its massive body thrashing violently as it attempts to dislodge the god's weapon. Thor doesn't relent. He charges forward, his every step causing the earth to tremble. Mjolnir swings again and again, each blow a testament to Thor's strength and determination. Jormungandr lashes out, its tail slashing through the air with a force that could shatter mountains. The battle between god and serpent is a brutal dance of destruction, each strike and counterstrike a struggle for survival. The venomous breath of Jormungandr fills the air with a foul stench, mingling with the acrid smell of battle. As the clash intensifies, Thor's strength begins to wane. The serpent's venom takes its toll, seeping through Thor's defenses with each swing. Jormungandr's bites grow more desperate, each one a deadly attempt to end the fight once and for all. The poison, a green mist that seems almost alive, begins to slow Thor's movements. His swings become labored, his breath ragged. Despite his growing weakness, Thor's resolve is unshaken. With one final, desperate effort, he brings Mjolnir crashing down on Jormungandr's head. The serpent's roar of agony fills the air as it slumps, its massive form falling to the ground in a deathly embrace with the earth. Thor stands victorious, but the cost of his victory is evident. His own strength is ebbing away, his body succumbing to the serpent's venom. Thor's eyes meet Jormungandr's as the serpent's life fades. There is a moment of eerie stillness, as if time itself pauses to acknowledge the gravity of their mutual destruction. Thor collapses, his mighty hammer falling from his grasp. His breath comes in shallow gasps, his vision blurring as he looks out over the battlefield. The great serpent lies defeated, its once fearsome presence now a lifeless heap among the ruins. The impact of their destruction is profound. The death of Thor and Jormungandr marks a pivotal moment in the battle, a turning point that signals the end of an era. The clash between them is more than a physical struggle, it is a symbol of the cyclical nature of existence. The god and the serpent, locked in their final confrontation, represent the ultimate struggle between order and chaos, light and darkness. Their mutual destruction leaves a void on the battlefield, a poignant reminder of the high price of their conflict. Thor's sacrifice, though heroic, underscores the tragic reality of their fates. The god's final moments are a blend of honor and sorrow, a testament to his unyielding spirit even as he succumbs to the poison that claimed him. Jormungandr's death, though it may seem to signal the end of its threat, is also a somber reminder of the destructive power that it wielded. The aftermath of their battle is a scene of devastation and loss. The once vibrant landscape of Vigered is now a desolate expanse, scarred by the fury of their struggle. As the dust settles, the sky seems to mourn their passing, a shroud of gray hanging over the battlefield. The echoes of their final clash linger in the air, a haunting reminder of the fierce, tragic struggle that defined their final moments. As the final battle rages on, the sky burns with the fury of Ragnarok. The once great gods, shining with the power of ages, now face their darkest hour. Their grandeur, built on honor and strength, is now eclipsed by the raw power of the giants. The heavens tremble with the clash of titans, a cosmic struggle where gods and giants collide in a cataclysmic dance of destruction. The gods, who once stood as the pillars of order and justice, are now locked in a desperate fight for survival. Odin, the All-Father, fights valiantly, but even his immense power cannot halt the tide of chaos. His eyes, usually filled with wisdom and foresight, are now clouded with the grim reality of his fate. Each clash of his spear against the giants is a testament to his strength, but the weight of prophecy hangs heavily over him. The giants, fierce and relentless, press on, determined to bring down the once mighty Asgard. Thor, the thunder god, whose mighty hammer was a symbol of hope and protection, now finds himself struggling against overwhelming odds. His once powerful blows are met with unyielding resistance. As he battles fiercely, the heavy toll of the fight becomes evident. Each swing of Mjolnir, once a beacon of divine strength, grows slower and less certain. The god's armor is battered, their once imposing forms now showing the strain of endless combat. The giants, with their raw and brutal strength, seem almost unstoppable. The giants themselves, driven by a mix of vengeance and hunger for dominance, press their advantage. Their leaders, like Surtur, wield their fire with destructive intent. Surtur's flames are a wall of fire, consuming everything in their path. His presence alone seems to push the gods to their limits, his every move a reminder of the destruction that awaits. The once proud palaces of Asgard crumble, reduced to ashes by the relentless assault. The sky above is choked with smoke and fire, a grim testament to the gods' failing struggle. Amid this chaos, the gods' resilience shines through their struggle. They fight not just for their own survival, but for the hope of a future beyond the devastation. Their bravery is palpable, even in the face of the seemingly inevitable end. The gods, though worn and battered, cling to their principles of honor and sacrifice. Yet, their heroic efforts are overshadowed by the overwhelming force of the giants. As the battle reaches its climax, the cycle of destruction unfolds with terrifying precision. The gods fall one by one, their once unbreakable forms succumbing to the giants' might. Odin falls first, his majestic form lying still amidst the ruins of his once great hall. His death marks a profound moment of loss, the end of an era that had defined the cosmos. Thor, too, faces his final battle with Jormungandr, his fate sealed by the serpent's deadly poison. His sacrifice is a poignant symbol of the end of an age, his final moments a blend of valor and sorrow. The giants, though victorious, are not left unscathed. The prophecy of Ragnarok foretells not only their triumph, but also their ultimate destruction. As the gods fall, the giants too face their end. The sky, once dark with the smoke of battle, begins to clear. The gods' fall and the giants' victory are but part of a greater cycle, a necessary destruction that paves the way for renewal. The end of the old world gives way to the birth of a new one, a testament to the eternal cycle of creation and destruction. In the aftermath of Ragnarok, the world lies in ruins. The ashes of the old world settle, and from the destruction, a new world begins to take shape. The gods, despite their downfall, are remembered for their sacrifice and valor. Their legacy lives on in the New World, a symbol of the unending cycle of life and death. The cycle continues, a story of destruction and renewal that echoes through the ages. The twilight of the gods marks both an end and a beginning, a reminder of the powerful and relentless forces that shape existence. In the silence that follows Ragnarok, the world stands still, a charred remnant of its former self. The once grand halls of Asgard are now ruins, the sky cleared of its fiery torment, and the earth scarred by the battles that have reshaped it. Amid the devastation, a poignant hope begins to stir, the birth of a new world from the ashes of the old. From the ruins, life slowly begins to re-emerge. The land, though scorched and broken, shows signs of recovery. New shoots push through the ashen soil, and a quiet renewal begins. The once bleak landscape starts to heal, hinting at the possibility of a fresh start. This new world, born of destruction, is a canvas for rebirth and transformation. In this new era, the surviving gods and giants play crucial roles. A handful of gods, those who lived through the cataclysm, emerge as beacons of hope. They are not the same as before, they carry the weight of loss and the scars of battle, but they are determined to rebuild. These gods are no longer just rulers, they become nurturers and caretakers of this new world. They guide the fledgling creation with wisdom learned from their trials, infusing the new world with a renewed sense of purpose and direction. Among the surviving giants, there is a sense of both triumph and introspection. Some giants, who had once sought to destroy the gods, now find themselves in a changed world where their role is no longer clear. The giants who survived Ragnarok must reconcile with the new order that has emerged. The old grudges and conflicts give way to a tentative peace, as both gods and giants face the reality of a world that requires cooperation and understanding. The new world is a place of stark contrasts. The old gods and giants who survived look upon it with a mix of reverence and sorrow. They remember the grandeur of what was lost, but are determined to embrace the promise of what can be. The survivors work together to create a world where the mistakes of the past are not repeated, where the cycle of destruction is balanced with the promise of renewal. The giants, who once were seen as the harbingers of doom, now take on roles that reflect their new reality. Some use their immense strength to help shape and build, their powerful hands rebuilding the earth from its broken state. Others, who had once been feared, now offer their wisdom, their knowledge of the old ways guiding the new beginnings. They become integral to the creation of a world that blends their own immense power with the healing touch of the surviving gods. The gods, too, find new purpose. They are no longer the rulers of a divine kingdom, but guardians of a world that needs their strength and guidance. They forge new relationships with the giants, building alliances that are crucial for the survival of both. This new world requires cooperation, and the gods, who once fought fiercely against the giants, now find themselves working alongside them. Their experiences and sacrifices during Ragnarok shape their leadership, infusing their new roles with empathy and understanding. As the new world takes shape, there is a sense of cautious optimism. The survivors, with their intertwined destinies, begin to forge a path forward together. The old rivalries and enmities are set aside in favor of a collective effort to nurture the rebirth of a world that has been both shattered and renewed. The lessons learned from the battles and the sacrifices of Ragnarok are etched into the very fabric of this new world, guiding its evolution. In this transformed world, there is a deep and resonant beauty. The scars of Ragnarok are still visible, but they are now symbols of resilience and hope. The survivors, gods and giants alike, are bound by a shared experience that has reshaped their understanding of existence. They work side by side to create a world that honors the past while embracing the future. The aftermath of Ragnarok is a poignant reminder of the power of renewal. From the ruins and the ashes, a new world rises, shaped by the hands of those who survived the end of an era. The old gods and giants, now transformed by their experiences, play vital roles in this new world, their legacy interwoven with the promise of a brighter future. In the cold, northern winds of ancient Scandinavia, giants stood as symbols of raw, untamed power. Their towering figures and immense strength were etched into the fabric of Norse culture, deeply influencing the lives and beliefs of those who lived in their shadow. Giants, or Jotnar, were not merely mythological creatures, they were central to the Norse understanding of the world. They represented the forces of chaos and nature's primal energy. From the thunderous roars of their battles with gods to their role as ancient adversaries, giants embodied the untamed spirit of the natural world, a world that could be as beautiful as it was dangerous. The myths surrounding giants were more than stories, they were reflections of the struggles of the Norse people. The harsh winters, towering mountains, and tumultuous seas were reminders of nature's might, and the giants were its personification. In tales of gods and giants clashing, there was a deep, resonant truth, the acknowledgement that nature was both a nurturing force and a formidable adversary. Giants were the primal elements made flesh. They were frost, fire, and stone, embodying the very forces that shaped the world around them. Norse culture revered and feared these giants. They were often depicted as adversaries to be overcome, but also as beings whose immense strength and ancient knowledge could not be ignored. This duality created a complex relationship between gods and giants, one marked by both conflict and respect. The gods, with their divine order in creation, were eternally at odds with the giants, whose presence represented a challenge to that order. In later Scandinavian folklore, the giants continued to loom large, evolving into symbols of the ancient past. Though the stories shifted and changed with the passing centuries, the giants retained their status as powerful figures who influenced the world. They became part of a broader tapestry of folklore, where they were portrayed not only as fearsome opponents, but also as wise and ancient beings, holding secrets of a forgotten age. These later tales often portrayed giants in ways that reflected the changing worldviews of the Scandinavian people. In medieval sagas and folklore, giants were sometimes shown as having their own kingdoms and cultures, rich with history and complexity. This shift indicated a growing fascination with the giants' mysterious nature and their role in the ancient world. Giants in folklore were also seen as embodiments of nature's forces. Their stories often reflected the natural cycles of the world, the struggle between order and chaos, and the enduring power of the land. These tales served as a bridge between the past and the present, connecting the ancient Norse beliefs with the evolving culture of Scandinavia. The enduring legacy of giants in Norse culture and folklore is a testament to their deep impact on the Scandinavian psyche. They are more than just characters in old stories, they are symbols of the natural world's power and unpredictability. The giants remind us of a time when nature was both a nurturing mother and a formidable foe, a time when the struggle between the divine and the primal was a matter of life and death. Their influence can still be felt today, as the myths and stories of these ancient beings continue to inspire and captivate. In the echoes of their battles, the wisdom of their ancient lore, and the mystery of their colossal forms, the giants remain a powerful and poignant reminder of the forces that shape the world and the stories that continue to shape our understanding of it. In the ancient halls of Viking art, giants loom larger than life, etched into stone and woven into the threads of history. Their imposing figures stretch across intricate carvings and elaborate tapestries, their stories a powerful testament to their significance. These ancient depictions reveal not just their physical might, but also the deep-seated fears and reverence they inspired. Carvings from Viking Age artifacts often depict giants in fierce battle, their faces twisted in rage, their bodies immense and muscular. These images capture the raw, untamed essence of the giants, forces of nature whose presence was both awe-inspiring and terrifying. From the great stones of runestones to the detailed illustrations on weapons and jewelry, the giants are portrayed as colossal beings, their strength and power a constant reminder of the natural forces beyond human control. These ancient depictions are more than mere art, they are windows into a world where giants were as real and present as the mountains and seas that shaped the Norse landscape. The giants' presence in Viking art is not just about their physical appearance, but also their role in the grand tapestry of mythology. Each carving, each illustration, speaks of epic battles, divine struggles, and the eternal clash between order and chaos. They are shown as the ancient adversaries of the gods, their massive forms and fearsome weapons a symbol of the ever-present threat they posed. Through these artworks, the giants come alive, their stories immortalized in the intricate details of Viking craftsmanship. As centuries passed and Norse myths spread beyond their homeland, the giants continued to captivate imaginations, influencing modern literature and media in profound ways. In contemporary literature, giants have evolved from ancient adversaries into complex characters, their stories blending myth with modern themes. They appear as powerful figures, embodying both the fearsome strength of their ancestors and the nuanced depths of modern storytelling. In novels and films, giants are often portrayed with a mix of awe and empathy. Their immense size and strength are still central to their character, but modern interpretations also explore their vulnerabilities and complexities. They become symbols of a bygone age, reflecting both the grandeur and the tragedy of their mythical origins. This transformation highlights how giants have shifted from mere symbols of fear to embodiments of deeper human experiences, their stories resonating with themes of struggle, loss, and redemption. The influence of giants extends into popular culture as well. In video games and fantasy series, giants are depicted with stunning visuals and intricate lore, bringing their ancient legends to new audiences. These modern portrayals often draw directly from Viking art and literature, reimagining the giants as powerful beings whose impact on the world is as profound as ever. They are both protectors and threats, their stories a rich blend of history and imagination. This ongoing fascination with giants reflects a deep-seated connection between past and present. The giant's role in art and literature serves as a bridge between ancient myths and contemporary narratives, highlighting how these timeless stories continue to resonate with our own fears, hopes, and dreams. Through their majestic and fearsome portrayals, giants remind us of the enduring power of myth, the strength of cultural heritage, and the way ancient stories continue to shape and inspire our world today. Giants have fascinated cultures around the world, their towering figures and immense power echoing across myths and legends. From the icy peaks of Norse lands to the sunlit valleys of Greece, giants have left their mark on the stories and beliefs of many civilizations. In Greek mythology, giants are often portrayed as formidable and chaotic forces, battling against the gods of Olympus. The Gigantomachy, a legendary war between the giants and the Olympian gods, stands as a grand testament to the struggle for cosmic order. The giants in these tales are not just massive beings, but also symbols of the primal forces that the gods must overcome to maintain their divine dominion. Their sheer size and strength reflect the raw, untamed chaos that threatens to disrupt the balance of the world. Similarly, Celtic mythology presents giants as powerful, almost elemental beings. In these stories, giants are often tied to the natural world, embodying the land's wild and unpredictable nature. They live in ancient forests and mountains, their actions influencing the land and its people. The giants in Celtic myths are sometimes seen as guardians of sacred spaces or as rivals to gods and heroes. Their presence in these myths serves as a reminder of nature's overwhelming power and the delicate balance between humans and the natural world. In other cultures, giants also occupy a significant place in mythology. In Hinduism, for example, Rakshasas are fearsome demons with enormous power, often portrayed as giants. They are embodiments of evil forces that gods and heroes must contend with, their sheer size and strength serving as a physical manifestation of their malevolent intent. In many African traditions, giants appear as beings of great power who play crucial roles in the myths and legends of different tribes, their stories often tied to the creation of the world or the maintenance of cosmic order. Despite the differences in their appearances and roles, giants across these cultures share some common themes. They often represent primal forces that challenge the order of the world. Their battles with gods or heroes reflect deeper struggles between chaos and order, nature and civilization. These giants are not merely figures of fear, but also symbols of the great forces that shape human existence. Yet, the giants in each culture also reveal unique aspects of the societies that tell their stories. Greek giants are often depicted as direct threats to divine authority, embodying the chaos that gods must overcome to ensure their rule. In contrast, Celtic giants are more closely tied to the land and its mystical aspects, reflecting a belief in the deep connection between people and nature. Hindu giants, like the Rakshasas, often play roles in cosmic battles that highlight the moral and ethical struggles faced by both gods and humans. The timeless appeal of giants in mythology lies in their ability to embody the greatest fears and the deepest wonders of human experience. They serve as reminders of the vast, often uncontrollable forces that lie beyond the everyday world. These giants resonate with people across cultures because they represent both the challenges that must be faced and the triumphs that can be achieved. In contemporary society, the myths of giants continue to inspire and captivate. They appear in modern literature, film, and art, their stories reimagined for new generations. The giants of Norse mythology, along with their counterparts from other traditions, remind us of the enduring power of myth to address fundamental human themes, struggles for order, the awe of nature, and the quest for understanding in a vast and often mysterious world. The stories of giants, whether from Norse, Greek, Celtic, or other mythologies, connect us to ancient beliefs and show how these timeless themes still resonate with us today. Their enduring legacy in art and literature reflects the universal human fascination with the extraordinary and the powerful, ensuring that these grand figures continue to inspire awe and reflection in the modern world.